soldiers of summer march toward the pastime's ultimate goal. It's baseball on Fox. Today at the Jake, the Indians pay homage to a hero as the tribe hosts the Royals. We are well aware of Jackie Robinson and the trail he blazed in baseball lore. Today, Cleveland pays tribute to another legend, Larry Doby. He, too, was an important figure in the breaking of baseball's color barrier 50 years ago. The Marlins and Mets tangle at Shea. Florida's had the arms, and now they have the firepower to make a run in the NL East. But watch out, baby, because Bobby V has his crew playing with heart, fire, and desire. At Comiskey, the Bo Sox and Shy Sox go to war. After a slow start, Bell's numbers have that familiar ring. As for Boston minus Mo, they're feeling mighty low. So, if you hear any noise, it's just me and the boys on the one and only Fox Saturday Baseball.
You're looking at Shea Stadium in New York, where two teams trying to catch the Atlanta Braves get set to face off as the Marlins take on the Mets. And Tuesday night at the All-Star game in Cleveland, the Marlins representative will be Moises Alou, who's hitting .297 with 9 home runs and 64 runs batted in. In Chicago, it's the battle of the Sox, red versus white, and how times have changed. With Mo Vaughn hurt, Red Sox shortstop Nomar Garciaparra is Boston's lone All-Star representative. Back to Jacobs Field in Cleveland. It's the Royals looking to make up some ground before the All-Star break. They take on the first-place Indians, and Indian fans get a chance to see Sandy Alomar play on Tuesday, and deservedly so. He has a 29-game hit streak, second only to Benito Santiago's record, a 34-game hit streak as a catcher. And, of course, as you see on the field, a special day for American League fans everywhere. Today is Larry Doby Day. 50 years ago today, Larry Doby broke the color barrier in the American League, becoming the first African-American player in the junior circuit 50 years ago today. It is a special day in Cleveland, a beautiful day as well, as we welcome you inside Jacobs Field here in downtown Cleveland. And hello again, everybody. I am Chip Carey, and welcome to Cleveland's baseball weekend in the sun. Now, this truly is a special weekend. Not only is the All-Star game here on Tuesday, but as you saw, the Indians are honoring Larry Doby, and I'll have a fascinating interview with this baseball pioneer a bit later on in the show. Traditionally, though, there's a lot of news that happens right at the All-Star break, and this year certainly is no exception. In case you missed it during your 4th of July celebration, a major trade went down yesterday between the San Diego Padres and the New York Yankees. Kenny Rogers and Mariano Duncan have finally escaped the Bronx. They are sent to San Diego. Greg Vaughn, the former American leaguer, back in the junior circuit. He was an underachieving slugger with the San Diego team. Yankees have him to play left field and DH. The deal, of course, contingent on both men passing their physicals. They also exchanged minor leaguers in the trade as well. Meanwhile, some other All-Star news for you. The Big Hurt will be a no-show here in Cleveland on Tuesday. Frank Thomas's ribcage is still sore, and he doesn't think he deserves to be here anyway, so he won't be. Also, last night, Brady Anderson got hit in the calf not once, but twice in a game against the Tigers. He'll miss today's game against Detroit as well, and his manager, Davey Johnson, says there's a shot he won't play here on Tuesday as well. Now, one guy who will be here on Tuesday, barring any unforeseen circumstances, is the Rockies' Larry Walker. The Colorado right fielder is probably the biggest surprise in the National League this year, with a batting average hovering around the 400 mark all year. Now, usually Steve Lyons is here with me, but he's calling today's Rockies-Giants game. But if you know Steve, he's always with us in spirit. In fact, he's with us on videotape, too.
Last year you missed 60 games with a broken collarbone, and the organization actually comes to you and says, look, Larry, don't play so hard. You're killing us. We need you on the field. How was that to react to?
It's tough to do. I know Junior's doing it up in Seattle. Apparently this year he's trying to tone it down, but when you see a ball in the gap, you know you can catch it. You know, if you were to run into the wall, you know you can catch the ball, and now I stop and I play it off the wall. You know, it's not my game, but because I've changed it, maybe I've saved some days on the DL this year by not running into the wall.
You've talked a lot about hitting 400. You've been the topic of conversation. Can you do it?
It's not even so much whether can I do it. I don't come to the park thinking about doing it. It's out of my control as far as I'm just going there and I'm playing the game. And if it does happen, that'd be super. But you know, I don't lose sleep over it.
You know, they always say that honesty is the best policy. But you took a lot of criticism this year because you were honest about not wanting to face Randy Johnson in the interleague play. You think that was undue criticism?
Well, I spoke up and told it as it was. You know, I didn't duck him without letting it be known that he's that good. I was honest about it, and next time I'm just going to lie. I'm going to lie about everything from now on.
Next week's the All-Star game. You may have to face him. How are you going to handle that? You'll be like a John Kruk at bat?
I don't know. Maybe Randy and I'll have a little talk before the game. You know, we're friends. We're teammates for years, and maybe I'll just tell him to drill me on the first pitch. We'll get it over with. I'll go down to first base. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Well, Larry Walker having a whale of a year, second in the National League to Tony Gwynn, who leads the National League with a .396 average. Mr. Walker at .393. Well, again, as you probably know by now, this isn't the first All-Star game that Cleveland has hosted. In 1981, they played at the old Municipal Stadium, and that's where the 1954 All-Star game was held as well. In that game, local fans had a chance to see one of their players go deep. His name, Larry Doby. Now, that's just one of the accomplishments he had throughout his career, but as you're about to find out, it pales in comparison to the many achievements he had during his playing days, most notably becoming the American League's first Afro-American baseball player.
July 5th, 1947, your first day in the big leagues. What was going through your mind that day?
I think I was a little numb. I don't think I realized where I was or what was happening as far as integrated baseball is concerned. But I really realized it when I struck out. Then I read, uh-oh.
If there was a patron saint in the game of baseball for the fan, I think it would have to be Bill Veeck. Could you describe your relationship with him?
I lost my father when I was 8. I would have liked my father to have been like Bill Veeck. He was probably the only person that I can think of that could have gotten me through some of the hardships that I had to go through, because number one, I believed in him. I have confidence in him. He was 100% with me, 100% for me, and wanted me to succeed.
Did you and Jackie Robinson ever communicate about what you went through?
We talked a lot, but you know, one of the interesting things that we never talked about the total hardships of what we were going through. The only thing that we talked about a lot was certain players on the team, certain players on the opposing team that would give you a tough time, or would be that in that group that would be calling your names, because you wanted to always remember those people.
Do you in any way feel overshadowed by history, that you've been neglected, that you've lived your life in the shadow of Jackie Robinson? And if so, do you feel at all upset or bitter about that?
No, because I think about so many people who would have loved to be in the position that I'm in. I don't mind. I don't think about second or first. I think about being a part of history.
Are you a Hall of Famer?
I would love to be a Hall of Famer, but I would never walk into a situation and say, well, I'm Larry Doby, I did this, I did that. No way, that ain't me. That's not me.
But in terms of social significance, how can they say Jackie Robinson's a Hall of Famer and Larry Doby's not?
I think under the circumstances, I think that has to be added. And if you add that into it, then I think I belong.
Your fondest memories from the game when you played?
One of the most important things about my career is, I think, the fourth game when I hit the home run to win the game, and Steve Womack, who was the pitcher, we embraced each other after that game was over. Just emotion, not planned, not a movie script. You didn't have time to say, well, he's black, I can't do it, or he's white, I can't do it. You did it. And when you see that picture, when I see that picture, I think about that as being one of the best things that ever happened to me, or probably this country, because it showed that people can get along and people can get together.
Your feelings on how baseball has responded in the retirement of Jackie Robinson's number 42. Is this something that is long, long overdue?
I wouldn't want to see 97 just be 50 years and celebrating and all this kind of stuff, and then no more. I would hope that we wouldn't let 97 just go by and not work on making it better for all of us in terms of athletics, in terms of the country.
Is that your legacy?
Yeah, I'd like to be remembered as a person who was part of bringing people together.
Ah, yes, Jackie Robinson, Larry Doby, the first two African-Americans to play in Major League Baseball history. Larry Doby, an amazing man, not at all bitter about what's happened. Like Cool Papa Bell, another Negro Leagues pioneer, he says, baseball has allowed me to smell the sweet success of life. And certainly Larry Doby should be in the Hall of Fame. His omission, a glaring one in Cooperstown. All right, that'll do it for today's pregame show. Some of you will be heading to the game in your area. But first, a friendly reminder. Catch the All-Star Game right here on Fox Tuesday night. The festivities begin at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock on the West Coast. And if there's one thing about the All-Star Game, it's you never know what's going to happen next.
Larry Walker hits it deep. Griffey at the wall. Robbed in the bottom of the 12th. The AL has points. Clemens working on 6 strikeouts in a row. Got him. The Rocket is got him. 6 in a row. Piazza, towering drive. That thing must have sailed 500 feet.
The 1997 All-Star Game on Fox. History is just a pitch away. Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific.
Oh, it is a gorgeous day for baseball in Cleveland, Ohio. It's an AL Central Division matchup. The Kansas City Royals and the Cleveland Indians. Folks around here preparing for Tuesday night's All-Star Game. And as we get set for this matchup, we look at the standings in the AL Central. The Indians out in front. The Royals come in 4th place, 7 games behind Cleveland. Last night it was a come-from-behind victory and effort for the Cleveland Indians, and highlighted Sandy Alomar Jr. extended his hitting streak to 29 games, now number 2 on the all-time consecutive hit list among big league catchers. I am among big league catchers. Tim McCarver to my right, Bob Brenly to my left, the guys I was with last October for the postseason, the guys I'll be with for the All-Star Game coming up here on Tuesday night. I start with you because we're so glad to see you, Bob Brenly. The Cleveland Indians come into today's game in first place. A lot of people saying, well, they're not as good as they were a year ago. They're in first place, Bob Brenly.
They're in first place by 3.5 games. A lot of new faces. A lot of people were concerned about the departure of Albert Bell. Would the offense measure up to last year's? The offense has not been the problem for the Cleveland Indians, if they have a problem. You see the numbers are very comparable on the offensive side, but the team ERA considerably higher, ranked well down in the American League. Jack McDowell, the staff ace, has been hurt most of the year. Paul Shuey's been on the DL. Chad O.J. Indians need some pitching help down the stretch.
Pitching has been the problem for the Cleveland Indians. As I turn to my other former big league catcher, Tim McCarver, we talk about the Kansas City Royals. A bit of a shift in ideas for the Royals. They brought in some power guys, and those 3 guys have really led this offense.
Well, Bob talked about the pitching problems for the Cleveland Indians. The Kansas City Royals, like the Indians, problems in their bullpen, but they also have struggled offensively. 82 stolen bases, 2nd in the league in that department, but guys who have not struggled smack dab in the middle of the lineup. Jeff King, Jay Bell, and Chili Davis, as Joe said, all off-season acquisitions. 57% of the home runs, 46% of the RBIs. These guys have not struggled, but they need more help from the rest of the Royals.
Well, good news, bad news. Those 3 guys are in the lineup today for Kansas City. Sandy Alomar is not in the lineup for Cleveland, but we'll get around that. We're getting ready for baseball here at Jacobs Field. Glad you're with us. First pitch coming up after this from your local Fox station. Welcome back to Jacobs Field, an absolutely beautiful early July day in Ohio, and we are glad that you are with us. They are finishing up honoring Larry Doby. In a wonderful interview during the pregame segment with Chip Carey, sitting down with Larry Doby, who is honored here today. Of course, 11 weeks after Jackie Robinson broke in, Larry Doby broke through the barriers in the American League. His number 14 retired here in Cleveland, and they honor the man, Larry Doby, that broke the color barrier in the American League just 11 weeks after Jackie Robinson did it in Major League Baseball. Beautiful day for a ceremony, and Larry Doby was honored with the presence of Bill White and Hank Aaron and many from Major League Baseball, and Larry will exit and saluted here. It's got to be a wonderful feeling for a man who I'm sure stepped onto the field here in Cleveland as Jackie Robinson did, with a lot of trepidation, a lot of worries, a lot of concerns, and now everyone standing together honoring Larry Doby. His number 14 retired here in Cleveland, and there's Jackie on the left and Larry Doby on the right, and he will be the honorary captain for the American League here during the All-Star game.
And Larry, very gracious in his remarks, giving credit to Bill Veeck, who was the then owner of the Cleveland Indians. Bill Veeck giving him his chance very gracious and humble man.
I wonder if he gets to keep that Cadillac convertible.
That would be a nice gesture.
That would be quite an honor, yeah.
Well, it's got a regular license plate on it. It might be his already, Bob.
That's worth the price of admission in itself.
What a wonderful day for Larry Doby, and well deserved. Not enough you can do for Larry Doby, Jackie Robinson, and those who, in the early years, as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the busting through of the color barrier in Major League Baseball, there's just not enough you can do for those who stepped onto the field for the first time in whatever city as a home player, in this case as an African-American player. So here on the 5th of July, a few more fireworks in case you didn't get enough last night. And we are not too far away from the first pitch. The Indians and Royals getting ready. Starting lineups, first pitch coming up. When we come back, stay with us. Back to Cleveland in a minute. We are just moments away from the start of this one. Delayed at the start. And delayed for a good reason as they honored Larry Doby here at Jacobs Field. It is an absolutely beautiful day here on the 5th of July. And this would be a good time since the music has started to give you the Miller Beer starting lineup for the Kansas City Royals. Jose Offerman will lead off at second base, then Goodwin batting second, Jay Bell hitting third, Jeff King is cleaning up. Shelly Davis is the DH with John Nunley in right field, Johnny Damon in left, Scott Cooper is hitting eighth, and catching and batting ninth is Mike McFarland. How about the defense for the Cleveland Indians? The Indians defense stacks up like this with Giles getting another start in left field, Grissom and Ramirez in the outfield. Very good defensively on the infield, especially the left side. Pat Borders is catching. Sandy Alomar Jr. is not catching, but don't worry, that doesn't end the streak of 29 games in a row with a base hit. And on the mound is the right-hander, former American League All-Star Charlie Nagy.
Well, without a doubt, the Indians ace of the staff this year. Very respectable numbers on the season. Nagy features a sinking fastball, a slider. Has to keep the ball down to be effective. He's pitched very well here at the Jake throughout his career. 27-11 lifetime pitching here at home.
Charles Nagy, an interesting pitcher in that with that sinking fastball, he would probably get more strikes in the National League because the American League is not, the umpire is not as apt to give you the low strike. A nasty slurve, that's between the slider and curveball. Instead of 12-6, it's like 1150 to 520. And a very effective sinker, as Bob said. But don't you think, Bob, I mean, this guy would be probably a better pitcher. And it's hard to believe that he could be that much better, but he would get probably more call strikes in the National League.
I think a perfect example of that is Kevin Brown came over to the National League from the American League, a sinker ball pitcher, likes to keep the ball down and get ground balls, and he's been very successful in the National League.
First weekend of interleague play on a Sunday afternoon in St. Louis, Charles Nagy pitched one of his best games, not only of the year, but one of his best games ever, completely dominating. And that was in St. Louis with National League umpires.
Brian Gibbons was the home plate umpire that day.
In the shadows is the Cleveland manager Mike Hargrove, and here are his thoughts on the State of the Union between 1996 and 97 with the Indians.
We've had a lot of people hurt. David Justice, Jack McDowell, Chad O'Jay, Paul Shuey, to name just a few. So we've had to deal more with injuries and more DL time this year than we have in the past. So every year, and I'm not trying to say this to make people feel sorry for us, because we certainly don't want that. We don't feel sorry for ourselves. We're having to deal with some things that we haven't had to deal with in the last couple of years, and I think we've done pretty well so far.
Pretty well indeed. They're in first place. Everybody keeps talking about how the Indians have struggled. They are in first place, but I think those Indians fans, as Nagy deals strike one over the outside corner to Jose Offerman, I think Indians fans have their sights set a little beyond the American League Central, wondering if this Indians club with the pitching they have is good enough to advance in the playoffs and get back to the World Series. There's ball one.
In the World Series in '95, they failed to reach the World Series last year as Baltimore beat them. In the first series, best 3 out of 5 series, clincher coming here at the Jake.
Nice start for the Royals as Offerman dumps one into right, and Kansas City gets a leadoff hit from Jose, who's been bothered by a strained left groin. The back in the lineup here this afternoon and on ahead of Goodwin, Bell, and King. Well, who's working the plate? It's called a ball and a strike so far. It's Rocky Rowe. Durwood Merrill is at first base with Dale Scott at second, and Davy Phillips is over at third.
Rocky Rowe, didn't they name an ice cream after him?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Think he ever heard that in his life? That-a-way. 1 on, nobody out, and Goodwin looks at a good fastball from Nagy for strike one.
We talked about the middle of the lineup in the opening, and this certainly is going to set the table for Bob Boone, getting Offerman on to start the game. Tremendous speed with Tom Goodwin in that 2 slot. And then the 3 most consistent hitters for the Kansas City Royals coming up after that.
Check on the runner Offerman, who may or may not do any running, depending on how that injury is healing.
Mentioned the Indians, second in the American League in stolen bases with 82. Charles Nagy, because he has to keep it down, has to do something to compensate for the speed of the Royals. When you're a sinker ball pitcher, teams are more apt to run on you because the pitch that the catcher has to handle is usually going to be a pitch that's down around the knees.
Quickly an 0-2 count on Goodwin, who is as fast as you want to get on the bases when he can get on, and the average sitting at 289. Getting on base with a little more regularity. 1 on, nobody out, and the 0-2 to Goodwin. That was quick and easy for Nagy, 1 away. It is time for a Miller time game break. Back to Hollywood and Susie Colbert. Hi, Susie.
Hi, Joe. Let's take you to Shea, where Florida's Gary Sheffield just ripped the triple to the right field corner. Jim Eisenreich comes around to score for Sheffield, his 37th RBI of the season, and Florida is up 1-0 in the first. Back to Cleveland.
All right, Susie, thank you very much. You look at the National League's Eastern Division. Florida a record of 50-34, but 5.5 games behind Atlanta, who has the second best record in all of baseball.
Hey, the Mets have seen enough long balls this week. They went into Detroit, and the Detroit Tigers not only swept the Mets Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights, but they had 14 home runs to the Mets, none. Talk about a hammering.
1 on, 1 out, and Bell shoots 1 foul. Ball and a strike as we look at the hit zone for Jay Bell, who has hit 13 over the boards.
And he will go to right center field if you consistently work him away. But Jay Bell is a middle infielder who likes to pull the ball. He feels more comfortable hitting the ball to left field.
Jay Bell actually starred here with Cleveland for a very short while before he went to Pittsburgh. Greg Luzinski, the bull, the hitting instructor for Bob Boone and the Royals. Bell looks at a breaking ball, stays up and in, 2-1. To me, Jay Bell is the classic change of scenery guy. It's not a huge surprise to me that he's picked it back up, and is where he was a handful of years ago with Pittsburgh. He needed to get out of what had become a pretty stale atmosphere with the Pirates. Into center field, he got under it, and Grissom has plenty of room. So a leadoff hit, but now 2 out, and Offerman still at first.
Well, Joe, you mentioned Offerman nursing an injury. He had tremendous speed earlier in his career, but stolen 8 bases this year, been thrown out 9 times. He's getting to that point of his career where he has to pretty much pick his spots, or Bob Boone will pick his spots for him. Won't run the bases with abandon.
Here's Jeff King. Former #1 pick out of Arkansas, the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's hit 15 home runs. He was talked about quite a bit around the trading deadline a year ago. A lot of teams interested in King. Nobody ended up with him, and now here he is in Kansas City and was the player of the month in the American League for June.
Pittsburgh Pirates paring their payroll down to $9.5 million. And Jeff King was hunting pheasant with ex-Pirate manager Jim Leland in December. Came home that night. His wife Laura said, "You have been traded. We have been traded to Kansas City."
Check on the runner Offerman at first, and he has shown no signs of wanting to run.
Interesting thing about that, I guess in past years, Leland would have known of the trade because he was the manager of the Pirates, but by that time, Leland had gone to Florida and had no more connections with the Pirate front office, and that's why Jim didn't have a chance to tell King he was traded.
So the moral of the story being, when hunting pheasant, always call your general manager before you leave the lodge. You never know what news may be awaiting your return. Jeff King sitting 264. He's up on the count 2-0. 3-0.
I think he's hitting here.
Oh, I would think so, yeah.
Try to get an inside fastball, jerk it down that 325 line. The pitch is a strike away, take it. If it's a strike inside, leave your feet.
Swinging on 3-0, and he fouls it off to the left. Out of play, 3-1. Talk about the acquisitions made by the Royals. Well, a couple of former National Leaguers picked up by the Cleveland Indians as well. Matt Williams and David Justice heading here to Jacobs Field, and they've both been productive, although Matt Williams not off to the consistent start he would have hoped coming to the American League. And there's King and Bell, not bad with the Royals. Not as friendly a ballpark as Jacobs Field with regard to the dimensions. 1 on, 2 out, 3-1 to count on King. And he gets under another, but this will stay playable. Vizquel goes after it, shades his eyes, makes the catch, inning over. A leadoff hit by Offerman. Jim Thome will bat in the bottom of the first. Will he be an all-star? We'll talk about that. Welcome back to Jacobs Field. It is a beautiful afternoon in July. I think I've said that enough. And a look at the Miller Beer starting lineup for the Cleveland Indians. Marquise Grissom will hit it off in center field with Kevin Seitzer batting in the 2-spot, DHing. Jim Thome is hitting third, then Manny Ramirez cleaning up. Matt Williams is at third base, and he has been hot. 19 home runs, even with the streaks where he's had a tough time putting bat on ball. Then Brian Giles at left, Tony Fernandez at second. Pat Borders is catching, and hitting ninth at short is Omar Vizquel. And here is the right-hander, Jim Pitsley.
Big, tall right-hander, 6'7", Jim Pitsley. Coming back from arm surgery a couple years ago, was minor league comeback player of the year last year. Won 10 games, lost 2. Had a variety of stops in the minor leagues last year.
Bob Boone telling us that when this season started, he did not have a good breaking ball, but has worked on his curveball and changeup, and now has an adequate off-speed pitch.
There's a ringing endorsement from your manager.
By the way, Bob, beautiful day today, isn't it?
It's still a beautiful day.
Lovely day for baseball.
It really is. Just makes you want to sit in the seats, get some sun, and watch a little baseball. 1 ball, 1 strike on Grissom. He was booted out of that top spot in this Cleveland order. Now he's back, and he's hitting much better. His average up to 261. And they need Grissom at the top of this lineup. They had Vizquel there for a while, but Grissom better suited. Late cut, strike 2, and I guess part of the scouting report ought to be pretty good fastball, at least after that last pitch.
Well, he has to get that curveball over to be effective, to prevent the other team from sitting on that fastball. But when push comes to shove and he's behind in the count, he's going to challenge hitters.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Grissom, with Seitzer and Thome to follow. There's Kevin Seitzer. Grissom leading it off. And a good breaking ball for strike 3. So Grissom goes down looking, and that's a good pitch for Pitsley. You look at the defense for the Royals, very good defensively. In fact, 4th in the American League. They've made a total of only 47 errors. Goodwin can fly out in center, and McFarland is the one entrusted with trying to get Pitsley through this very tough Cleveland lineup.
I think there are 2 overrated defensive statistics: outfield fielding percentage and catching fielding percentage. I think a guy like Goodwin, the catches that he makes, much more important than an error occasionally. Bad year for an outfielder would be 4 or 5 errors, but it's the balls that Tom Goodwin can run down that makes his importance as a center fielder that much more valid.
0-1 the count on Seitzer. Now 1-1. Bob, you and I were sitting down putting the numbers down for this game. It was surprising to see Sandy Alomar leading the Indians in errors.
With 9 errors on the season, a very unusually high number for a catcher, particularly at the halfway mark of the season.
It's tough to commit 9 errors. But if you got a 29-game hitting streak, and
he's more than made up for.
Yeah, I would think so. There he is, seated on the bench, and again, this does not end his hitting streak unless he appears in this game at the plate.
Well, that's kind of an example of what we were talking about. We mentioned Goodwin. Well, as a catcher, some of the errors that a catcher makes is perhaps trying to make up for pitchers with slow moves to first base, slow moves to home, and you rush your throw to second base or to third base, ball goes in the outfield. It's your error, but someone else caused it.
Seitzer checks on Offerman. The throw is much easier from second than it used to be from short. 2 gone. Now, the interesting thing with Sandy Alomar is, Mr. Brenly, as Tommy digs in, and we'll get to this quick. Alomar is on your bench. You've got the 29-game hitting streak. If the game is on the line, do you throw Alomar up there and put the streak in jeopardy?
Well, Mike Hargrove said earlier in this streak that in another game when Alomar was given a day off, that he wouldn't hesitate to use him as a pinch hitter if the game was on the line. As this streak continues and approaches and passes 30 games, I don't know if he'd be quite as willing to run him in there for a 1-at-bat risk of losing the streak. I think as a manager, you have to try to win a ball game, and if he's the best man in the situation, then Mike Hargrove's going to have to make a very tough call.
1 ball, no strikes on Tomey, and while we talk about Alomar, Tim, we talk about Tomey and a guy who's never been an all-star, a guy whose numbers really would dictate that he'd be an all-star, except he's at that tough first base position, and now that Frank Thomas has said, I'm not going to play in the all-star game, maybe he will get his chance.
It'll either be Jim Tomey or Tony Clark of the Detroit Tigers. Home run last night, number 23 on the year for Jim Tomey.
That's good for 4th in the American League, and the guy who says, well, if I don't make it, it'll just make me work harder next year, you believe him. I'm not so sure I would believe a lot of guys, but you believe Tomey.
I think the American League needs to take Jim Tomey and his high socks just to counteract Chipper Jones and his high socks.
It is a nice balance.
Oh, you guys.
But that's you, Bob.
I think what we're all agreeing on through implication is that the roster has to be expanded. It's absurd that the roster has remained at 28 players since 1969. Since that time, there have been 2 expansions, 4 teams added, and yet the All-Star game, Major League Baseball stubbornly refuses to increase the roster.
3 balls, 2 strikes on Tomey, and that's ripped past first down the right field line. Nunley over to cut it off. Good play to hold Tomey to a 2-out single. And what that does, Tim, is put a guy like Joe Torre or Bobby Cox or whoever is the manager in a very unenviable spot.
And a spot that they really shouldn't be in.
Well, you hear about pitchers going up the ladder. Tomey gets up on his toes to hit this high breaking ball right down the right field line. Had thoughts about going for 2, but Joe Nunley eliminated that thought from his mind, hustling over there and getting to that ball quickly.
And you go up the ladder with fastballs, not curves.
Not breakers.
Catchers don't catch those.
Here's Manny Ramirez, another guy who has statistics that could justify him being an American League All-Star. Takes a strike over the inside corner. A 2-out base hit by Tomey keeps it alive for Ramirez. 4th in the American League with that average of .343. Still a very young player and one of the best young players in the game. Ball and a strike. He slipped into that cleanup spot when Matt Williams went into that terrible skid really through much of May and a lot of June. Manny saying earlier he didn't want to hit cleanup, but he's the best man for the job and is there until Williams gets back on the beam. Strike 2 on Ramirez.
Yeah, Ramirez has really grown up a lot as a ball player in the last year. He made a lot of I don't want to call them dumb mistakes, but dumb mistakes. He threw the wrong base a lot. He ran when he should stop. He stopped when he should run. Smoothing out his game this year.
And he pops one up on the infield for Jeff King. Fighting the sun. Inning is over. A 2-out hit by Tomey. A scoreless first inning for each side. After one in Cleveland, no score. We're back in Cleveland. Just an average day for the start of July. No score into the top of the second inning. Royals and Indians. And the man that the DH was made for, Chili Davis, walks in to lead it off here in the second inning with Nunley and Johnny Damon to follow. You know this guy, Bob?
I played with this guy in 1978 in Fresno, California Class A ball. He was a catcher at the time. Actually, that was the season he converted to an outfielder because they saw him behind the plate.
Otherwise, it could have been you were a catcher also at that time, right?
Well, actually, I was playing more third base at that time. Yeah. Yeah, but Chili was a switch-hitting catcher, which is a very attractive proposition for an organization. But after they caught his act behind the plate, they immediately moved him to the outfield.
They don't even allow him really on the field anymore, do they? They just, here's your bat, and just go swing. And he can swing, and he can still hit.
Yes, he can. They said 10 years ago Chili Davis was washed up, and he's still putting up big numbers.
2-0 the count on Chili, the DH for Kansas City.
He is a guy that is particularly tough on a guy like Charles Nagy because he can handle the low ball and the off-speed pitch.
Grounds to the second baseman, Fernandez. Easy hop, one up, one down. Well, here we are in Cleveland. We will be here through Tuesday night. Why? Tuesday, the best and brightest in all of baseball gather for one spectacular night of action. Don't miss the 68th annual Major League Baseball All-Star Game live from Jacobs Field. Coverage begins at 8 Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, right here on Fox. Tim, I think you and I can legally vote now in Cleveland. We've been here so much.
Matter of fact, I had my driver's license picture taken this morning.
Did you?
Yeah.
I was wondering what you were doing. Here's Nunley. John is 4 out of 15 playing in only his 9th game with the big league club this year. 1 ball, 1 strike.
John actually drafted and signed by the Cleveland Indians back in 1992. Rule 5 draft pick by the Royals.
Matt Williams, one of the best, comes in and is saved by Tomey on the other end. A low throw, but 2 up, 2 down.
Now, Matt Williams has always had the great hands at third base. Had some throwing problems. Had that corrected in the offseason. Says his arm feels very strong. But for a big man, he moves so gracefully around third base. Seems to glide along the turf.
Most third basemen with good arms throw the ball overhanded all the time. Matt Williams, an exception to that. Kind of a 3/4 move toward first base.
Here's Johnny Damon. Hitting .321. He's hit 4 home runs, driven in 25. Great name for a ball player or a lounge singer.
No, it's not Damone, it's Damon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
1 ball, 1 strike, 2 out, nobody on. And a ground ball to short. Welcome to the Polyester Lounge. I'm Johnny Damon. I'll be here all night. A ground ball to short. Matt Williams will bat in the bottom of the second. Royals and Indians, no score.
Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week, brought to you by Miller Lite, who reminds you that anything can happen at Miller Time. By Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Quikrete. Quikrete cement and concrete products help you do it yourself. And by Pepsi, who invites you to join Generation Next.
It's a good day to fly in the blimp. Overhead, providing our aerial view of Jacobs Field, is the Goodyear blimp Spirit of Akron. Was your nickname in high school, wasn't it, Bob? The Spirit. Well, you're from around here, aren't you? Somewhere around here?
Not too far from here. A couple hours south, down near Columbus, Ohio. Born and raised. But I spent some time in Akron. Of course, the NFL Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Went up there and got my rear end kicked in the pass, punt, and kick competition one year.
Which was your best of the three?
Oh, the pass by far. I could fling that thing a long way.
What was your age at that time?
I was 10 years old, and I got whooped badly by some kids from the big city.
Matt Williams leads it off for the Indians and bloops a base hit into center field. So Matty is picking it up. He adds to his .243 average. He's hit 19 home runs, driven in 53. And he's on to start the second for the Indians, who come into this game with a record of 42-36. 3.5 games up on the White Sox. Here's Brian Giles, and what a play he made starting the 7th inning here last night against the Royals. He bailed Brian Anderson out of a ton of trouble. This was the first out of the inning, and that is giving yourself up.
Not only the catch that Brian made, but what happened to him after the catch. Slamming into the wall, the base of the wall. Fine play.
And that rubberized warning track out there doesn't have a lot of give. That'll take a chunk of your skin off real quick.
Here is a highly coveted piece of property, if you can call a human being that. He is asked about by more teams. And let's be honest, the Indians have to be shopping around for pitching, as they have been for a couple, 3 years now. John Hart has been trying to land a frontline starter, and they really, really need one, especially with Jack McDowell out and his return uncertain. 1 on, nobody out, and a check on the runner Williams, who has a short lead.
Kurt Schilling of the Philadelphia Phillies and an all-star selection was one name mentioned, but the Phillies wanted too much from the Indians. As you take a look at Jack McDowell.
McDowell out with a bad elbow, and they don't even have a return date in the books. They don't know exactly what's wrong with him or when he will be able to get back out on a major league mound. They tried to rush him back, and that set him back even further.
Yeah, Brian Giles, I think you're right, Joe. I think Brian Giles is at that age right now, 26 years old, where he should be blossoming as a starter on a ball club. And when David Justice comes back, David with the hyperextended left elbow, Brian Giles will be relegated to bench duty, and he is too good a ball player to sit on the bench.
John Hart.
John he's agreeing with us, right?
Think so.
Huh, John?
Sure, they have the volume up in their luxury suite. The runner goes on ball 4, and the first 2 are on for the Indians here in the second. We have a microphone on Dave Nelson, the first base coach. Here's what he had to say to Matt Williams.
A couple occasions, but just work on good leads, and I'll let you know, all right? Okay, nobody out. Just don't want to make the first out at third base, but you can get there standing up now. Be careful, slow hit ground ball. You don't run into a tag. Second baseman.
There's a good chance, guys, that if you put a microphone on a first base coach, most would be saying the same exact thing.
Well, one thing that he said that was interesting is that I'll let you know, which means that if the steal or hit and run is on, I'll let you know. And what happens is most base runners, often a lot of base runners, are unsure of a sign at third base, so they look at the first base coach, and the coach will wink once for a steal, wink twice, or blink twice for the hit and run. And I think that's what Nelly was telling me.
Now Fernandez shows bunt, and Pitchley misses with ball 1.
And we know that's Davey Nelson's job as a first base coach. Every coach in the major league, as you said, Joe, does pretty much the same thing when a runner gets on base, but explaining those things to Matt Williams is really a waste of breath, because Matty knows what he's doing out there on the bases. He may not be the swiftest runner on the field, but he knows when not to run into outs at third base. You don't have to tell him to go hard into second base.
The guy's got to do something down there.
Well, that's what I said. That's what he's there for, just to keep him company.
Put sanitary socks on today. You got to do something. 2 on, nobody out, and the 1-0 to Fernandez is hit hard to first. King to second, out, back to first. Beautifully turned. 3-6-3 double play.
What a great play by Jay Bell, the shortstop. End over tea kettle was he turned by Brian Giles. Watch this takeout slide by Brian Giles. Throw a little to the third base side by King. Didn't get him as much as I thought he got him, but it nonetheless was a fine play by Bell, jumping, throwing in the same motion.
That's why the middle infielders try to get their cleats up off the ground as that runner is sliding. You keep your foot on the ground with those cleats planted, that's when you suffer some serious injuries out there.
Now Pat Borders with a 2-out RBI chance. It gets away from McFarland. Here comes Williams, 1-0 Cleveland. So just when you get the key double play, Pitchley unleashes one that got behind McFarland, and the Indians jump out in front.
This is the big breaking ball that we were talking about from Pitchley earlier in the game that he has to have to be successful. McFarland just doesn't get down. He's very upright as he moved out to his right to try to block this ball. You can see he never gets his shin guards down on the ground. Plenty of room for that ball to get underneath.
The wild pitch in the second of the year, and now Borders flukes one into right for a 2-out hit, and the second inning continues here in Cleveland. So 2 hits and a walk in the inning, plus a wild pitch, only 1 run. And it's 1 on, 2 out for the number 9 hitter, Vizquel.
Also continuing the fate of the Royals against the Indians this year. They have not beaten Cleveland all year. They're 0-4 in this ballpark and 0-5 on the year. As Borders, little broken bat single the other way. You'll trade a bat for a base hit any day of the week.
Especially since the ball club buys them.
Yeah.
Major League players do not pay for their own bats. 1 on, 2 out, and here's Vizquel, and there's a strike over the outside corner.
Players don't buy their own bats anymore?
No.
Oh, I did. I paid for my uniform, my hats, everything.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Did you notice you were the only one handing in checks?
No, they told me everybody did it.
Vizquel gets a base hit to left. Borders will stop at second. And that's 3 hits, a walk, a wild pitch in the inning, and it's 2 on, 2 out, and back to the top of the order.
Well, Vizquel just reaches out and serves this ball into left field, pitch down and out over the plate. A lot of those pesky little left-handed hitters, that's where they make their living. Looking for a pitch on the outside part of the plate that they can just serve into left field.
Here's Grissom. 2 on, 2 out, strike 1.
You know, when guys come out and take batting practice, they do not try to hit the ball on the end or on the trademark. What you try to do is hit that ball on the barrel, that bottom bat right there. You see that thing on the right there, that little knot right on the hitting area. Hitters love to get those knots in that area.
That's well hit into left field. Back at the wall, off the top of the wall. 2 runs are going to score. Borders scores. Vizquel will score, and it's 3-0 Cleveland. The throw gets away, and Grissom over to third.
Ball that Grissom hit was on the ground. He one-hands it off the wall. And that little bobble right there by left fielder Johnny Damon allows Vizquel to score, and Jim Pitchley not backing up the play. There's only one place for a pitcher to be on a throw like that. That's behind the catcher.
Now, Pitchley's in a position to make a good call at home plate, but not to back up the ball.
The call was safe, and it's 3-0 Cleveland. And this is really the way the Indians have been winning lately. Earlier in the year, it was lay back, rely on the home run ball. By the way, they're 3rd in the league with 110 home runs as a team, but last night a good example, rallies with hits. They had 2 out, nobody on here in this inning, and Pat Borders gets a hit. Vizquel a single, a 2-run double. By the way, error shortstop on Bell. Charles Nagy all of a sudden has a 3-0 lead. Now Seitzer looks at ball 1.
That's only the 2nd error that Jay Bell has made since May the 10th. That's a heck of a run for a shortstop because of all the chances he had.
Runner at third now, 2 out, and Pitchley will try to end this 2nd inning right here. He will not. Base hit into score Grissom, and it's 4-0 Indians. 5 hits and a walk in the inning and a nightmare frame for the young right-hander, Pitchley.
He really needs his catcher or somebody to go out there to the mound and give him a breath of fresh air and let him recharge his batteries a little bit. He was cruising right along after that double play and then made the wild pitch and seemed to lose his composure a little bit, throwing a lot of balls right down the heart of the plate now.
Now 1 on, 2 out for Thome. The last guy you want to face when you're struggling because of that swing. And that's strike 1. Thome cut it loose on that first pitch.
Yeah, he doesn't get cheated very often. Off of that front foot, you can see the protective guard on the inside of the ankle, but it looked like that one caught him down on the shoe somewhere.
You remember back in the first inning, he waited on that high breaking ball and singled down the right field line. Now he takes a high fastball, 1-1. One on, 2 out here in the second, and now Pitchley falls behind 2-1.
Interesting to note that if you have an open stance like Thome has, you have to stand closer to the plate because you can't reach that pitch outside if that back foot is not near the plate.
Thome up on the count, 3 balls and a strike.
Up on the count, up on the plate right here.
Chased it there, full count. The runner will go.
Well, we mentioned Pitchley likes to throw that fastball when he's behind in the count. He gets this one in a good location. Jim Thome unable to catch up. That pitch had to look big as a beach ball coming in there, but had enough on it to get it by him.
And now a full count, so Seitzer will take off. 2 out. And another high fastball from Pitchley. It stays 3-2.
You're right, those are high fastballs, but they're not hittable high fastballs. Hittable high fastballs are from the belt buckle to the bottom of the letters. Those are hittable. Anything from the letters up, if it's a fastball and a good fastball, which most major league pitchers have, you're going to foul those balls back or swing through them.
Another high delivery, and this time Thome grounds to second for Offerman. But big damage done by the Indians. They get 4. Back to Jacobs Field after this from your local Fox station. Well, Tim, there's Lake Erie.
And that's how Bob Brenly got in the ballpark today, on his yacht.
Captain Stubing, Gopher, and Doc dropped him off.
Actually, I came on that little dinghy out there, which is what you must be if you think I came to the ballpark in a boat.
Love, exciting, and new. 4-0 Cleveland out in front, and a ground ball to Fernandez. 1 pitch, 1 out. Scott Cooper is gone, and a nice start to the inning for Nagy.
A little look at Lake Erie there. Of course, the old ballpark just down the road a little ways, Municipal Stadium. Used to be called the Mistake on the Lake.
And it is level, but we understand.
They're going to build the new home for the Cleveland Browns on that site.
Expansion team in 1999, is that right? I believe.
Or heck, the way things are going in the NFL, they might have a team before you know it. Franchises hopping all across the map. And as soon as one struggles and doesn't get what they want for a new stadium, they start talking about Cleveland. Mike McCarver will talk about a home run he hit. In the top of the 3rd inning, off the end of the bat to the right side, and he poked it over the wall toward the Royals bullpen for the first run of the day for the Royals, and it's a 4-1 game.
That home run caught everybody by surprise in the ballpark. It didn't sound good coming off his bat. It didn't look good as it left the infield, but Manny Ramirez, the right fielder, gave up on that ball quickly. He knew something that nobody else in the stadium did. McFarland not known for his power, especially power to the opposite field, but Must be a jet stream up there somewhere today.
It's only his 3rd home run of the season. And it just had enough to get out. Now back to the top and Jose Offerman.
That's been one sore spot for Bob Boone this year, is offensive production from that catcher's position as well as third base. McFarland batting only 177 coming into play today.
Sal Fasano, the other catcher, batting only 211. And that's what happens when you approach Charles Nagy the wrong way, trying to pull the ball.
Here's a Miller Time game break, and here's Susie Colbert in Hollywood.
You guys, let's go back to Shea. Marlins and Mets, Edgardo Alfonso unloads in the bottom of the 3rd for the solo shot. He extends his 18-game hit streak. Carl Everett followed that up with a double that scored Bernard Gilkey, and that gave the Mets the go-ahead run. It's 3-1.
All right, Susie, thank you very much. Welcome back to the top of the 3rd inning. It's a 4-1 game here. Cleveland out in front, and Goodwin at the plate with 2 out, nobody on. A run home on the McFarland home run. There's a strike, and it's 1-1. You get a chance to watch that Mets club. Edgardo Alfonso is having a great season.
Another guy off the All-Star team. Could win the Gold Glove this year as the curveball gets Jose Offerman on the back foot, it appears. I should say Tom Goodwin after Offerman made the out. And of all the places for a young talent to be hit like Goodwin, the worst place is on the legs. Any place on the legs, because Bob Boone telling us he's the fastest man in the American League. And this will certainly hamper that speed. It's like the top of the left foot. Ouch.
Yeah, when you're a base stealer, you'd rather get hit in the helmet than get hit in the foot. That's how you make your living, with those legs down there.
Right.
You know, here's the bad news to pile on top of the injury. Tom Goodwin, that was strike 2. You were not hit by the pitch. You will not go to first. He offered at the pitch, so the swing makes it 1-2, so he doesn't even get the free base.
Oh, boy.
That's bad luck.
Insult to injury. Literally.
Ooh. Billy Webb is our director in the truck from 2 strikes to Goodwin. What do you need us for? Tailing pitch from Nagy. He strikes him out looking. Goodwin limps to the field. The Royals get a run on a McFarland home run. They trail by 3, bottom of the 3rd. Ready for the bottom of the 3rd. Indians bat. Manny Ramirez starts it off, and it's a 4-1 game. Cleveland out in front. Ramirez, Williams, and Giles for the Indians, and there's a strike from Jim Pitsley. The outfield hits by direction for Manny Ramirez. He's a pull hitter.
But he's not strictly a pull hitter. You can't play any kind of a drastic shift with Manny Ramirez at the plate. He's just a good hitter. He hits the pitch away from him, the opposite field, and he'll pull mistake pitches.
One ball, one strike. Well, here you go. You want a little free All-Star Game controversy? I've just been handed a note. Joe Torre has made his selection. The replacement of Frank Thomas for the 1997 American League squad. Drum roll. Is it Tomey? Is it gone off the bat of Ramirez? Goodbye in a 5-1 Indian lead.
Stand the suspense.
I know. It was bad timing because I have to leave the folks hanging while we show the replay now. The home run hit by Manny Ramirez.
Well, Manny didn't know you were in the midst of such earth-shattering news here, so he went ahead and hit the ball out of the ballpark and put a crimp in your act here.
That's a Rockets red glare right there. That ball was smoke.
And a leadoff home run for Ramirez. Here's Matt Williams. Well, the reason why I bring it up and put the word controversy on there, because everybody thinks it's either Tomey or it's Tony Clark.
Right.
It's Paul O'Neill.
Oh. How about that? A most deserving guy, but that's a surprise to me.
Paul O'Neill will be a member of the 1997 American League team, and Thome will have to wait for another year, as will Clark, the young first baseman with Detroit.
Unless Brady Anderson of the Baltimore Orioles, who was hit twice last night in the same spot, 2 different at-bats, hit on the left calf. Davey Johnson making some comments last night as to whether Brady will be available in the All-Star game. So there is an extra chance that either Thome or Tony Clark could be named if Anderson elects not to play because of the injury.
Nobody on or out in the 0-2 to Matt Williams, who already has a hit. Wasted delivery, 1-2.
Say, an injury you can understand missing an All-Star game. The one thing I cannot understand is the implication by any players that they would rather have the 3 days off than play in the game.
Matt Williams strikes out. He couldn't lay off the high delivery from Pitchley, and that's the second strikeout for Jim. Saw Ricky Bonas warming up as Pitchley struggles here at the start in Cleveland.
Well, we're seeing a pattern develop from Jim Pitchley. When he gets ahead of the Cleveland hitters, he goes way up that ladder. A little hanging breaking ball there. He was lucky to get away with. Goes up and away. Gets Matt Williams to check on a fastball up around the shoulders.
So Matt Williams is the second strikeout victim for Pitchley. And now Brian Giles has a 1-1 count.
Well, that's one of the perks of being named the All-Star manager. You take your guys. I mean, as you said, Timmy, he's very deserving. Paul O'Neill, he's had a great year. But there will always be questions about a manager taking one of his own players when there are other deserving players out there.
Back in 1993, Cito Gaston of the Blue Jays selected 7 Blue Jays. This year, Bobby Cox had 6 Atlanta Braves. You know what? I can understand that. I mean, if it was between one guy on your club and one guy on another club, if I were managing a club and managing the All-Star team, I'd pick one of my guys.
Because you have to go back home and play with that guy the rest of the year.
Yeah,
you don't want to make him mad.
That's right.
However, people will say that Paul O'Neill is not in the top 10 in either batting average, home runs, or runs batted in, while Jim Thome comes in 4th in the league in home runs and 8th in RBIs with 61.
Yeah, I would imagine Joe will be criticized for that selection.
That's down the left field line off the bat of Tony Fernandez, a 2-out hit. He's going to test the left fielder, make it easily, and hold at second as Damon again has trouble out in left. So the 2-out double hit by Tony Fernandez.
Damon had trouble with Marquise Grissom's double back in the 2nd inning. This ball just slicing down the left field line will snuggle up over there against the tarp, and Damon doesn't quite get to it. The ball rolls past it. Fernandez had thoughts about going for 3rd base, but with 2 outs in the inning, he knows he's got to make it standing up and wisely hit the brakes.
Now Porter shoots one foul down the right field line for strike 1. Pat a single to start that rally, his first time up after Williams had scored on the wild pitch. It was 2 out, nobody on. Porter's got a hit. Vizquel got a hit. Grissom a 2-run double. He scored on the hit by Seitzer. Runner at second, 2 out, and Porter's up the middle. Offerman keeps it on the infield and saves a run. Now throws behind Fernandez, who's able to get back to 3rd. It's 1st and 3rd. And Offerman, who's been bothered by that bad groin muscle, is up limping after making that stop.
It's a terrific play by Jose. With a man on second base and 2 outs, infielders are reminded to play a little deeper and knock down a ball, even if you can't make a play on it. Offerman made a fine play trying to throw behind Fernandez, who had made the turn at 3rd base. Good play by Offerman, but what price glory.
Now Vizquel 1st and 3rd, 2 out. Meanwhile, while we talk about Thome and that he deserves to go to the All-Star game, you've got Tony Clark, the young first baseman with the Tigers, who has hit 21 home runs and driven in 71. While O'Neill has hit 11, driven in 54. He is hitting .313. Clark hitting .290, and as we mentioned, Thome just under 300 at .296. First and third, 2 out, and that's popped up. On the infield, who wants it? McFarland wants it, and will drop it. A run will score. Fernandez in to score, and an error on McFarland lets in another.
Well, normally this would be the first baseman's ball, but McFarland made the call, but he didn't think that it had enough hang time. And it's a tough play for a catcher, a tougher play, but a ball that clearly should have been caught. Wow. Sloppy game for the Royals.
Omar Vizquel not exactly busting it out of the batter's box either. He was jogging down to first base. Pat Borders was jogging around second base, and the ball dropped and unable to advance any further.
That will be the first unearned run of the day. Now Borders over at third. It's a 6-1 game, and strike one to Marquise Grissom. Grissom is struck out, driven home 2 with a double. Breaks his bat, checks on Cooper, can't make the play. Bell can. The force out, 6-4, inning over. 2 runs, a leadoff home run by Ramirez, and the error by McFarland after 3, 6-1 Cleveland. Well, the Indians out in front 6-1, and the Royals are saying, here we go again. 0-5 against the Indians in 1997, 0-4 here. A lot of teams have trouble coming into Cleveland and winning. In fact, the Indians have the best home record since Jacobs Field opened back in 1994. They play .672 ball here in friendly Jacobs Field. Jay Bell leads it off. He's 0 for 1. Bell, King, and Davis as the Royals try to get back in it. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And the Royals better get back in it in a hurry, because the record on the season, if they trail after 6 innings, they're 1-30. Not exactly a comeback team.
Well hit and through the left side. Jay Bell is on with his first hit of the afternoon. And for the Royals, their third. I would imagine a lot of that has to go along with the bullpen and their struggles in 1997, not keeping the Royals in it long enough to come back and win any games.
Yeah, Kansas City has not come back, but Bob Boone has signed an agreement to come back. As a matter of fact, a 2-year extension on his contract, and the most unusual that I think I've heard about in the free agent era. If the Kansas City Royals payroll drops below, Booney didn't know, telling us before the game, he didn't know what it was. It's right around $30 million. If it drops below that, then he has the option of getting out of his contract if he so desires. Kansas City wanted to sign him to a 4-year deal. He accepted a 2-year extension. And they have got to maintain a payroll, and I would say that gives a manager an awful lot of clout to be thought of in those terms.
Well, absolutely, and it certainly protects Bob Boone.
Yeah, right.
The Kansas City Royals decide to have a fire sale and unload all their salary, and he ends up with a bunch of AAA players, and the record would suffer during his tenure. Then you know, he's smart in protecting himself in that way if you can.
There's a pitch low to King. One of the reasons for that in Boone's contract is because they're still looking for the owner for the Kansas City Royals, someone to purchase it from the holding. Right now it's holding with a charity.
Charitable trust, right. Set up by Ewing Kauffman, the deceased owner of the Royals, who died 3 years ago. It's a very, very odd situation for a major league franchise to be in, but under those circumstances, a very good situation for Bob Boone.
Hitting a walk to start the inning for the Royals. A hit by Bell, a walk to Jeff King, and here's Chili Davis. He could put the Royals right back in it with 1 swing. They trail by 5. Runners aboard for Davis, who slipped under the 300 mark with a ground out to second his first time up. Nagy in his first jam. 1-0. Talked about this before, Tim. So often the third hitter of an inning, when the first two get on, determines how big of an inning it's going to be.
That's the key, that third guy. Nagy looking for a ground ball. We'll see if Chili Davis adjusts and tries to take him back through the middle.
Out in front there, 1 ball, 1 strike. The numbers for Chili Davis. Active switch hitter. Chili Davis, where he ranks throughout all of the major leagues.
That's a terrific career right there, is what you're reading. And as Bob said, they told him he couldn't hit a fastball 10 years ago, right, Bob?
The 1-1 is over the inside corner, and Davis in the hole 1-2.
I think the best thing that ever happened to Chili Davis was getting out of San Francisco. He was unfairly compared to Willie Mays initially when he got to the major leagues, and you know, that's unfair to do to any player. But Chili played 6 years in San Francisco, had a degree of success, but I think after he left San Francisco, he was really allowed to become his own person and beat Chili Davis, not the next Willie Mays.
That's not only unfair to the younger player, it's unfair to the guy they compare him to, too.
Davis stays alive. Chili Willie. Chili and Willie.
Charles Chili Davis. Chili Dog.
He got that nickname when he was a youngster growing up in Jamaica. His father used to cut his hair by putting a cereal bowl on top of his head and shaving anything that was hanging out.
Well, why isn't it cereal?
Well, I guess
Cereal
Davis doesn't have the same ring to him. Could have been a salad bowl. They'd be Salad Davis, huh?
1-2, and that just missed the outside corner. 2-2. The overall average at 299, and with men in scoring position, always good. One of the reasons why he's been around this long. That story, that was not a good story. Put a cereal bowl over his head, they called him Chili. That doesn't make any sense. 2 on, nobody out. Now 3-2 on Chili.
Well, you could put chili in a cereal bowl. Come on.
What, do you have specific bowls for chili and other bowls for cereal?
You never had chili out of a cereal bowl?
You got to meet my wife. 2 on, nobody out, and a 3-ball, 2-strike count on Davis. Nagy trying to work around a leadoff hit and a walk. Well hit into center field. Is it enough? Grissom back in front of the track. Chili just got under it. The runners will tag, and only Bell will advance to third. It's first and third, 1 out. With that, we remind you that Tuesday night, the best and brightest in all of baseball gather right here for one spectacular night of action. Do not miss the 68th annual Major League Baseball All-Star Game. It's our first here on Fox, and it begins at 8 Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
Last year, Charles Nagy, the loser in Philadelphia, the American League loser in that game. Charles has been in 2 All-Star games.
Here's Nunley with a base hit into right center field. Bell will score. King heads to third, and it's a 6-2 game. So John Nunley drives in his first of the year. And the Royals trying to come back here in the 4th inning.
Another sinker down over the heart of the plate. Nunley went down and got it like a lot of left-handed hitters. He likes that ball down around the knees. Hooks it back into the gap in right center.
A guy like John Nunley, Mark Wiley, the pitching coach, is out to visit Nagy. One of the many reasons why Kansas City traded Michael Tucker to Atlanta for Jermaine Dye. They wanted a right-handed hitting outfielder. Damon is a lefty. Nunley is a lefty. Young left-handed outfielder. Michael Tucker, a left-handed hitting outfielder. They wanted to get a right-handed hitting outfielder, and they got Dye, who has not done what they expected coming into this season. In fact, has been down in the minor leagues, has been bothered by injury. Here is Johnny Damon, another one of the left-handed hitters. First and third, one away, and ball one.
Puts added pressure on a younger player when the guy for whom you are traded is doing well. If Michael Tucker was not doing as well, it would make Jermaine Dye's season a little bit more livable. But the fact that Tucker has been a main cog in that Atlanta offense, good defensive player, good speed.
Nagy is falling into trouble here in the fourth inning. He's allowed a walk, 2 hits in the inning. 1 run is in. And with first and third, 1 out, it's 2-0 on Damon. Now 3-0, and Nagy hasn't been anywhere near the plate. So Mike Hargrove and the Indians will sweat through another start by one of the Cleveland Indians starters, as ball 4 is low to load him up with the number 8 hitter Scott Cooper coming up. 2 hits, 2 walks in the inning.
Mike Hargrove has got to be scratching his head here at Jacobs Field. For the first 7 seasons that Charles Nagy has been in the league, his home ERA has always been lower than his road earned run average. However, this year at Jacobs Field, his earned run average is over 5. Road average is about 2.5. He's given up 12 home runs here at the Jake, only 3 on the road. So for this year, it's really flip-flop for Charlie.
Now bases loaded, 1 out, and Cooper digs in. He's been a good man off the bench, but overall has struggled, and there's ball 1 from Nagy. Cooper grounded out his first time up, hitting only 189, and he's driven in just 6. Bases loaded, 1 out. 6-2, the Indians lead here in the fourth. It's out of play, 1-1. Cooper, a guy who started his career in Boston, had the unenviable task of trying to take over as Wade Boggs left. Did well enough to be traded to his hometown of St. Louis. Didn't do well, ended up in Japan, and now is back in the United States with the Royals. Bases loaded, 1 out. And a borderline pitch, 1-2. Now Cooper has to guard the plate, set up at a ball and 2 strikes, facing Nagy. 2-2.
And the reason that Nagy came inside to Cooper then, that's the best time to come inside to a hitter, especially from a sinker ball pitcher. Jose Mesa is now up and throwing. After you've gone away, you get 2 strikes, and then that's when you want to pound him inside.
That's well hit into left field, and tough for Giles. Running grab to his right. Tagging and scoring is King, and it's a 6-3 game. So the sac fly for Cooper gives him 7 RBIs, and it's a 3-run game here in the fourth.
Giles, a left-handed thrower, moving towards the line. No chance to get his momentum pointed towards home plate and make an effort to throw the runner out at home.
So the easy sac fly for Cooper, and now 2 on, 2 out for McFarland, who homered his first time up, but his plus-minus rating is even. For all you hockey fans, he hit one, he let one in with an error on a pop-up in the bottom of the third. 2 on, 2 out. Well hit and through, a base hit. They bring the runner around third. The throw by Giles is in time, but dropped by Borders, safe, and it's a 2-run game. Nunley scores to make it 6-4 Cleveland here in the fourth.
That's why it is much better to always go into a catcher feet first. You use that left foot to jar the ball loose. Watch Nunley. Not only jars the ball loose, but he jars that left shin guard of Borders away and then has to touch the plate with his hand.
A lot of times as a base runner, you don't have to actually hit the glove or knock the ball out of the glove. As you mentioned, if you can get into those shin guards and turn that catcher's body just enough so that he can't catch the ball clean, that's all you need.
And now first and third, 2 out, and a hit by Offerman could make it a 1-run game. Grounds to second. Fernandez there to pick it up. It's a 3-run 4th inning for Kansas City. They are back in it. Bottom of the 4th here in Cleveland, 6-4 Indians. Welcome back to Jacobs Field here in Cleveland. We are in the bottom of the 4th inning, and the Indians, who at one point led 6-1, now are in a 2-run game, 6-4, and Kevin Seitzer takes a pitch that barely misses for ball 1. But Jim Pitchley and the Royals have been given new life by a 3-run 4th inning. Bottom half of the inning, and Pitchley falls behind 2-0. Seitzer is 1 for 2. He grounded out to second. He drove home a run with a hit with 2 out in the second. Thome will follow, and then Ramirez. And a bad time to fall behind 3-0. There's a strike, 3-1. Seitzer's been getting a lot more playing time from Mike Hargrove, and he's made the most of it. To the left of Bell, good play. Funny hop. 1 out. Take a look at the Pepsi All-Star American League starters. In the American League on Tuesday night, these are the voted-in starters, with Ken Griffey Jr. being the top vote getter, not only just in the American League, but throughout Major League Baseball. David Justice, by the way, will play, or at least his plans are to play, in that game on Tuesday night, the day he is scheduled to come off the disabled list with a hyperextended left elbow. So it will be his 3rd time as part of the All-Star team. First time, obviously, in the American League. Here's Thome. 1 ball, 1 strike. Off the inside corner, 2-1. Nobody on, and it misses down and in. 3-1.
If David Justice elects not to play more than an inning or two, there's some talk about him playing only defense, maybe not hitting because of that arm. Well, his replacement will be a familiar figure in this ballpark, Albert Bell.
Thome grounds out to the right side. 2 up, 2 down here in the 4th inning.
Albert Bell had a memorable homecoming here at Jacobs Field. They had showered him with play money and coins and all other assortment of projectiles, and
those were the nicest things thrown his way.
Right. He saluted them right back.
2 out, nobody on for Ramirez, and a breaking ball. 4 strike 1 from Pitchley. So Albert Bell jumped right back into trouble here in Cleveland. Led into it by the Indians fans, and he took the bait. Got into trouble, an obscene gesture made, and was reprimanded yet again. 2 out, nobody on here in the 4th inning, and Ramirez, who homered his last time up in the 3rd inning. This is a laser. And for Ramirez, home run number 12. And another guy that, when you look at the sheer numbers, we talked about it earlier. Here's a guy that, now that it has been announced that Paul O'Neill will go to the All-Star game, well, now you can look at the numbers that Manny Ramirez put up, because they're comparable, except Ramirez has a much better average. Breaking ball from Pitchley. He has his best inning by far. Heart of the order goes in order after 4, 6-4 Indians. Well, if you've ever wondered what the inside of a Goodyear blimp looks like, then visit Goodyear's website at www.goodyear.com, where that and many more questions are answered. You can bring the kids, too. The Goodyear website. Here's Tom Goodwin. www.veryfast.com. And to... didn't even get out of the infield. Little humpback liner caught by Vizquel. One away. Well, we showed you the American League All-Stars in our Pepsi balloting. This is the way they came back in the National League. Gwynn, Lofton, and Walker around the outfield with Larkin voted in, but he's bothered by the calf problem. Caminiti has a bad back. Piazza behind the plate, Biggio and Bagwell over on the right side. And not only that, Tim, you know that better than we do that Todd Hundley is a bit banged up.
Todd Hundley with a hyperextended right elbow has not played since Wednesday. He did it throwing on Wednesday night in Detroit. So there is a possibility that Todd Hundley could not be in the All-Star game also.
1-1 on Bell, and now a swing and a miss for strike 2. Jay Singleton scored his last time in a 3-run 4th inning for the Royals. Nagy got the leadoff hitter Goodwin. And a 2-2 count on Bell. The bespectacled Jay Bell. 3-2.
Don't be fooled, though. Much like Greg Maddux. You see Greg Maddux on days he doesn't start for the Atlanta Braves, sitting on the bench with his glasses on. Looks very mild-mannered. Kind of like Hershiser. There's another one. Jay Bell, all tremendous competitors.
Well, the reason Jay Bell wears glasses all the time now is because he has an astigmatism and has a very difficult time picking the ball up at night. That's why his average in the daytime is about 100 points better than it is at night. There's a guy who is forced to go to glasses. Like many of us for different reasons.
1 out, nobody on. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Bell. And strike 3 called over the inside corner. Strikeout number 3 for Nagy.
Looks like Nagy finished him off with a splitter, a bevy of fastballs. That's the 3rd one. That was a slider down, and now another slider, and it looked like a splitter right here to get him. Could have been inside.
Borderline pitch, and now strike 1 called on Jeff King. So Jay Bell, a guy who has switched leagues, as did Jeff King, and when you switch leagues these days, you have to get used to the difference in umpiring.
Yeah, everybody says the difference in pitching. I think the umpiring is equal to the difference in pitching, the different strike zones for the different leagues.
Yeah, Jay Bell told us that before the ball game down on the field, that you look at a guy like Greg Maddux, he's more likely to throw you a 3-2 changeup than any pitcher in the American League. But the difference is getting to know the umpires and their various strike zones, and generally it's a little bit higher in the American League.
2 balls and a strike on Jeff King. David Justice, another one who could tell you. 2 balls and a strike, and now King off the end of the bat into center for Grissom. The Royals go in order, 1, 2, 3 in the 5th. Halfway through it, Indians bat, bottom of the 5th inning. They lead by 2.
Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week, brought to you by Sun Microsystems. The network is the computer. By Old Milwaukee, America's best tasting beer. By GMC, putting you comfortably in command. And by Wheaties, the breakfast of champions.
Welcome back to Cleveland, where folks are getting ready for Tuesday night's All-Star game. Just outside. Part of the Fan Fest here, the All-Star Fan Fest that started yesterday morning here in Cleveland, Ohio. We are into the bottom of the 5th inning with Williams, Giles, and Fernandez coming up. 5, 6, and 7 in the order for the Indians.
Larry Doby honored before today's game. He will also be honored before the All-Star game on Tuesday night. Talking between innings, guys, every time I see Larry Doby, I think of a conversation that started out heated between him and me.
Williams checks on the third baseman, Cooper. Got a great arm, 1 out.
It started out heated, and it ended up after about 6 hours later in the wee hours of the morning, where we both ended up agreeing that this should be tried by somebody. I had talked to Larry 25 years ago. Was traded to Montreal, played for him for a very short time. Larry was the hitting instructor under Gene Mock. And I asked Larry, on a whim, wouldn't it make sense for a team to have a left-handed hitting coach and a right-handed hitting coach?
A left-hander, Giles, deep to right, goodbye. A 1-out home run for Giles, number 9, and the Indians make it 7-4.
That question was left-handers have different moves on breaking balls in particular than right-handers do. And that was a great move by Brian Giles on that pretty good curveball from Jim Pixley. That was a nasty curveball, it looked like, and Giles took care of that one.
Here's Tony Fernandez, takes a pitch low, ball 1.
I think initially Larry was offended that I brought it up because, and then after a while, and I brought it up just as a topic of conversation, and after a while we both agreed that some major league clubs should experiment with that because of the differences, and I mean real big differences between a left-handed hitter's swing and a right-handed hitter's swing. I've never heard about it since. I know no major league club has experimented with it, but I still think from that one conversation, I still think that it might be worthy for a major league team to experiment with that because of the total differences in the approach of a right-hander and a left-hander.
2 balls and a strike, now 3-1 on Tony Fernandez. The switch hitting.
Yeah.
Middle infielder. You have a switch hitting guy as well? Who would he talk to? Borderline pitch, 3-2.
He would spend quality time with both the left-hander and the right-hander.
Probably end up talking to himself a lot if he had 2 hitting coaches, one for each side. Obviously, the left-handed, they can wait so long on the ball because they can shoot it to the opposite field into right field, and they're already 2 strides closer to first base. I can see some merit in that.
I mean, it's an unusual thing, and it's, I haven't heard it talked about since we had that conversation 25 years ago.
Fernandez strikes out. Strikeout number 5 for Pixley, and 2 out here in the 5th inning.
You take a swing like Tony Gwynn. He's going to be in the All-Star game on Tuesday night. No right-handed hitter that I have ever seen in 37 years hits like Tony Gwynn. Nobody. And I don't think a right-handed hitter can hit like Tony Gwynn. You can't have that same type swing that Tony Gwynn has. Or Wade Boggs is another guy. You never see a right-handed hitter hitting in that particular fashion.
Ricky Bonas again warming up for the Royals out in their bullpen. Is that Bruce Keeson, the pitching coach for the Kansas City Royals? 1 ball, 1 strike now, and it is Bruce. Charting every pitch, every movement by his young right-hander, Jim Pixley, and he's in charge of quite a few youngsters in the starting rotation for Kansas City. 2 balls and a strike. Jose Rosado, started here last night, was not all that effective. He is the Kansas City representative for this year's All-Star game. 3-1 now on Borders, who was hitting .316. He's 2 for 2. Two out, nobody aboard for Borders. Full count. Omar Vizquel, the number 9 hitter, the shortstop, waits on deck. 3-2 from Pitchley. Breaking ball and a base hit into left field. So as the inning continues here in the 5th, time for a Miller time game break. Back to Susie Colbert in Hollywood.
And Joe, Gary Sheffield was quoted last week as saying that umpires give him a bigger strike zone than other sluggers in the league, forcing him to swing at bad pitches. He since apologized, but in this one, Jerry Meals tosses him. Wonder what he's thinking today. Mets lead 3-2.
Thank you, Susie. 1 on, 2 out here as Vizquel tries to bunt and fouls it. We look at the National League Eastern Division standings, and Gary Sheffield, no doubt, feeling the pressure from that big contract. But you can't pin it all on the umpires behind home plate. And those in and around the Marlins organization said, Gary, we just don't see it. They thought the umpires were picking on him and had to apologize, but not in an apologetic mood this afternoon, evidently.
Well, this is the year of the quick trigger, particularly with home plate umpires and batters questioning called strikes. And if you say more than a typical, are you sure, there's a good chance you're going to get thrown out of the game.
Wow. Over the head of Vizquel and a 1-2 count.
That's a big-time knockdown pitch right there. This pitch right here is rarely seen anymore. You're never going to hit anybody when you throw it a foot over their head, but there was a purpose behind that pitch.
Runner goes, and Vizquel shoots one into right. A base hit. Borders will head to third, and it's first and third, 2 out. And I wonder if Jim Pitchley is long for this game here in the 5th inning. A home run, now back-to-back singles with 2 out, and here comes Bob Boone, and see you later, Jim Pitchley.
Well, we talked early in the show that Pitchley's pitch that he had to have working today was that big curveball. He threw a lot of good curves in this game, but he also threw a lot of bad ones, a lot of hangers.
So Bob Boone will walk to the mound. The handoff, and Pitchley is gone. We showed you Ricky Bonas. He was warming up. He will come in. Royals trying to hang in this game in the 5th. Welcome back to the bottom of the 5th inning here in Cleveland. Before we tell you about the new Kansas City right-hander, we'll remind you this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball, and it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated.
Disseminated. Good word.
Without express written consent, here's Ricky Bonas.
Ricky Bonas, a sinker slider pitcher, also throws a curve and an occasional changeup. He's looking to bounce back after his last outing in Chicago on Monday when he faced 3 hitters, gave up 3 hits, including a 3-run home run to Dave Clark to lose that ball game.
Third organization of the year for Bonas. Started with Cincinnati, went to the Brewers, and was obtained for cash from Milwaukee. First and third, 2 out. Runner from first going, and no throw by McFarland as Vizquel scoots down to second. And if it is a stolen base, it's number 21.
No throw, no cover. Neither the second baseman or shortstop covered on the play. Will be a stolen base for Omar Vizquel, but if nobody covers, that could be as indifferent as when a team is leading 13-1, not holding a guy on, and he steals, because certainly the defense was indifferent then.
Second and third, 2 out. Grissom pops it up. Behind home plate, McFarland will watch it sail into the seats for strike 2. This is a spot where the Royals either hang in this game or Grissom could knock them out. Cleveland leading 7-4, second and third, 2 out.
Give you a chance to digest that right there and the problems that the Kansas City Royals have had with their bullpen this year.
An ERA of 6.46, worst in the American League.
Wow.
Bonus trying to make it a little better. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Grissom. Grissom 1 for 3 this afternoon. Just missed. 2-2.
Mike McFarland tried to hold that pitch there an extra second or two, giving Rocky Rowe a good look at it, hopefully change his mind, but Rocky wasn't buying it.
2-2 from Bonus. He got it. Good work by Ricky out of the bullpen for Kansas City, and the Indians lead 2. They have stranded 6. After 5, Royals hanging in there. They trail by 3. We have played 5 innings here in Cleveland. The Indians out in front 7-4, and Chili Davis will try to start it the right way for the Royals against Charles Nagy. Nagy back to work in the 6th. Here's Chili. There's Tony. 1 out. And Chili Davis is 0 for 3. That brings in John Nunley.
I guess simply put, the reason a left-handed batter does not try to pull a right-handed sinker baller, the ball's going away and you're going the other way.
2 pitches. 2 up.
Again, try to pull Charles Nagy and you end up grounding out and playing Pepper with the right side of the infield.
Box score for the Kansas City Royals will look like this. If the game were to end right now and your paper came out this afternoon, here's how it would read. Offerman 1 for 3. Nunley is driven in a run. Cooper's driven in a run with a sac fly, and McFarland, plus-minus rating is +1. To the home run. He's driven in 2 on the day. Did commit an error to allow a run back in the 3rd. Damon pops it up. I didn't think that was supposed to happen. A 3-pitch inning. Oops. That is doing Nagy a favor. Bottom of the 6th inning, 7-4 Cleveland. Gund Arena is in the foreground. Jacobs Field is in the background as we get ready for the bottom of the 6th inning, but some thoughts may turn to Tuesday night's All-Star game. Joe Buck, Bob Brenly, Tim McCarver, and hope you're with us on Tuesday night, 8 Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We were on camera. You guys didn't even get to say anything.
That's okay. That's what an on-camera is for. Less is more. We let you handle all the tough stuff anyway.
1 ball, 1 strike on Seitzer. Did you want to say something, Bob, when we were on camera?
No. I just like listening to you, Joe.
Appreciate it. Seitzer, the number 2 hitter, grounds to 3rd. Foul. Strike 2. You looking forward to the All-Star game?
Oh, absolutely. Particularly here in Cleveland. You know, I was telling you guys before that I grew up not far from here and used to go to a lot of ball games at Old Municipal Stadium. So it really will be special to come back here and treat the fans of Cleveland to a nice ballpark and an exciting ball game.
5th time the All-Star game will be played in the city, Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, the last time it was played, 1981, and that was the season that was marred by 52 days of a strike by the players. Matter of fact, it was played before the regular season resumed in the 2nd half of the season.
Jacobs Field has been such a home field advantage for the Indians since being built in 1994, and it's been really a money-making machine for these Indians who have turned that money right around and put it in their players, keeping guys around. signing guys like Justice to long-term contracts, Jim Thome. They have been the top home team since 1994. They moved into this park. Seitzer shoots one to center and caught by Goodwin. Great catch. One away, and that takes a hit away from Kevin Seitzer.
That ball was hit so hard, I don't think Tom knew which way to go on it. He was really handcuffed on this sinking liner by Seitzer.
Didn't even really get a chance to use his speed to make that play. That was a reaction play like a third baseman would make. That ball was hit so hard to center field.
Just did pick it off the top of the grass, and here's Thome, who took strike one. The top 3 All-Star Game crowds in Cleveland, because of the size of Municipal Stadium, have been overwhelming. In fact, that 1981 game, 72,086. The largest ever to watch an All-Star game. Missed up and in from Bonus, 2-1. Now 3-1 on Thome. If you joined us late, and if you were wondering, since Frank Thomas bowed out of the All-Star game because of the injury to his side, his rib cage, wondering if Jim Thome would be named to the 1997 All-Star team, the answer is no. At least not yet. There's ball 4 outside, a 1-out walk. Paul O'Neill has been tapped on the shoulder to replace Frank Thomas. You look at the Indians box score. Grissom 1 hit today, but he's driven home 2. Giles is homered. Ramirez is homered. Hits all the way through the lineup. Nobody is 0 for today for the Indians.
I wonder, with Joe Torre picking Paul O'Neill, if Joe will be greeted rudely by the Cleveland faithful, since Thome is such a popular ball player with this team.
And again, it points out as Manny Ramirez digs in and takes a strike over the inside corner. Because the manager selects the reserves, and because the manager has to live the rest of the season with whoever is jilted from his ball club.
Right.
When Paul O'Neill was originally not named, he made a couple of comments to suggest he was disappointed that he wasn't part of the team. And now Joe Torre gets his opportunity to make good. There's a base hit up the middle by Ramirez. Thome will stop at second, and it's 2 on, 1 out in the inning. A lot of guys these days in the big leagues, you look at the American League All-Stars, the reserves, and those selected, with Paul O'Neill being highlighted now because of the injury to Frank Thomas. A lot of guys and a lot of egos that are on the line. I would imagine managers, and it's not just Joe Torre, it's Bobby Cox in years past.
Sure.
It's Mike Hargrove here with Cleveland.
Cito Gaston, we mentioned before.
You're more willing to take the criticism and hear it from the home crowd in this case, because Thome isn't named, than you are to live with a shattered ego of one of your stars on your ball club.
And also, you've had an opportunity to watch your own player throughout the first half of the season, and the other players that we're talking about from other ball clubs, you know, maybe you only see them 3 games, 6 games, whatever the case may be. So naturally, you're going to be a little more biased towards your own player because you've had an opportunity to see him more and see what he's contributed to your club.
His numbers may not be as high. For instance, in this case, O'Neill's numbers may not be as high as Manny Ramirez or Jim Thome, but he's more valuable, or at least Torre is probably thinking, he's at least as valuable to the New York Yankees as Thome or Ramirez is to the Indians.
A couple of things. You've got O'Neill, who is known as a temperamental player, a very emotional player.
Right.
He's always been that. Secondly, built into most big league contracts are bonuses. It translates directly into money. So you're not only talking about egos, but you're talking about money being taken out of somebody's pocket or money being put into somebody's pocket, and you might as well put it in your own player's pocket for what it's worth. You know, if I'm selecting, Thome, in my mind, is more deserving. And that is...
Manny Ramirez is more deserving.
And Tony Clark,
Tony Clark,
got 71 RBI.
Right.
That ball gets away, but not far enough for Thome to advance to third, or Ramirez to scoot down to second. When you talk about Jim Thome and where he ranks in the American League this season, ranked second in walks, fourth in home runs, fourth in on-base percentage, seventh in slugging percentage, and eighth in runs driven in.
Now that you bring up the money part, that may be the very reason also that the owners are not willing to expand the rosters and haven't expanded it since 1969.
I think you may have hit on something there, sir.
And maybe that's why the managers pick their own players. Maybe they're splitting that bonus money with the players.
Oh, see, we're getting back into Oliver Stone territory.
It's a conspiracy.
2 on, 1 out, and Williams a 2-1 count. But I think in Joe Torre's case, or as it was with Mike Hargrove, I mean, the Indians last year had 5 All-Stars. This year they have 2. The year before they had 6. Mike Hargrove was selecting after the '95 World Series. 2 on, 1 out, 2-1 the count on Williams. Now 2-2 from Ricky Bonas.
Maybe the All-Star balloting should be changed and let the fans pick the reserves and let the players pick the starters. That would eliminate the problems for the managers.
You know, I always thought it would be a good idea to have the All-Star game as it is known now, picked by the coaches and managers, and then after the season is over, have a most popular player game. You know, have the fans vote for the players they want to see. You know, perhaps have some of the proceeds go to some kind of a charity like the Pro Bowl in football. That way it gives the fans an involvement in picking the players that they want to see in their All-Star game, but the Midsummer Classic, as we know it, would be picked by the managers and coaches who, in reality, know which guys are having the years that are deserving of All-Star recognition.
On the other hand, you're tinkering with something that will be construed as a slap to the fans, and the last people you want to alienate these days are the fans in Major League Baseball.
Don't want to do that.
Baseball did enough of that in '94.
2 on, 1 out, 2-2 pitch, and we'll do it again as Williams battles Ricky Bonas.
And I don't know how you guys think, but I think that is over with. I mean, I think if they continue to write about it, that there still may be a residual effect of the '94 strike. I think for the most part, that is over. As a matter of fact, in June, Major League Baseball teams drew 29,000, averaged 29,000 a game. And that was the biggest month Major League Baseball had since July of 1994. The players walked on, August 12th of that year.
Little squirter back to Williams. They'll try it. Bonas to second, and no other play as Offerman had trouble with the footwork, and it's first and third with 2 out now.
Ball not hit hard enough for Bonas and Offerman to turn it.
It's a pretty good indication of what the Kansas City Royals think of Brian Giles, who has walked and homered in this game. Bob Boone is willing to dig deeper in his bullpen as he relieves Ricky Bonas here in the 6th inning. And he will go to the bullpen, most likely a left-hander, to deal with Giles. First and third, 2 out when we come back. Bottom of the 6th inning, the Indians threatening to blow it open again. And we'll remind you that next week on the Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week, don't miss the surprising Mets taking on the Braves, plus other regional action. Coverage begins at 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central, within the zone, followed by all the action. Check your local listings for the game and time in your area. And again, remember, on Tuesday night, the All-Star Game, the 68th annual, right here on Fox from Jacobs Field. Starting at 8 Eastern, here's the left-hander, Jamie Walker, a record of 3-2. First and third, 2 down, and Giles takes a strike over the inside corner. Brian homered his last time up, facing the other piece of the puzzle with the trade between Atlanta and Kansas City. He came with Jermaine Dye, Michael Tucker, and Keith Lockhart. everything has been either on the inside part or off the inside part of the plate to Giles.
Well, they got a pitch out over the plate and down to him his last at bat, and he deposited that into the right field seat, so they're trying to tie him up inside right now.
2 balls and a strike. Little flare into shallow right, out to get it Offerman, and Walker, the 25-year-old left-hander, takes care of Giles. We are through 6. Back to the Jake after this from your local Fox station. Through 6 innings, the Indians lead 7-4. Richard E. Jacobs, principal owner and chairman of the board, the Cleveland Indians. He does not like this place called the Jake. And I said that going to break, so I apologize now in advance. Jacobs Field, and this is as pretty a ballpark as you'll find anywhere. They built the ballpark, and they did it right here in Cleveland.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite in the major leagues. Always fun to watch a game here.
Cooper, a base hit to left field, and that's the way the 7th inning begins for Kansas City. Scott has driven in a run, now 1 for 2. And that'll bring in McFarland, who is already 2 for 2 with a home run. An RBI single for McFarland his last time, and he takes a fastball right down the middle from Nagy. After the Indians made it 6-1 in the bottom of the 3rd inning, Nagy struggled in the 4th. He allowed 3 runs on 3 hits and stranded a couple. 1-1 on McFarland, who in his first at bat hit one off the end of the bat, and believe it or not, that ball got out. His 3rd home run of the season. Trying to get on to bring the tying run to the plate. He pops it up. Tony Fernandez out to get it. 1 away. Here's Offerman.
Sometimes what determines whether a pitcher goes deep into a game or not is what style of pitcher he is. A sinker ball pitcher in the middle innings has a chance to go into the 7th or 8th inning more than a guy who throws a high, hard fastball, because when a sinker baller gets tired, his ball goes down, and that's where he wants to get his ball. A lot of sinker ballers run into problems when they're too strong. They have a tendency to get the ball up, it straightens out. Those are their problem areas.
There's a strike, and it's 1-1 on Offerman.
So you hear that term pitch count all the time, and even though Mesa and Ossenmacher are up and throwing, I think with a guy like Nagy, if he starts getting a lot of fly balls for a couple innings in a row, that would be a danger sign as opposed to a pitch count, because you could, in a sense, throw a pitch count away when you're dealing with a guy like Nagy, because the more pitches he throws, he could actually become more effective.
Behind on the count to Offerman. Now even further behind. 3-1.
And it certainly doesn't hurt a sinker ball pitcher like Charles Nagy when in the 6th inning the Royals had a 3-pitch inning. Swung at the first pitch all 3 times. 3 quick outs. Nagy was back in the dugout.
I know this is a young Kansas City team, but there's no excuse for that.
No, there isn't.
Can't let a pitcher in the middle innings get through an inning with throwing 3 pitches.
When you're trailing by 1 or more runs, actually by 2 or more runs, because with nobody on, you're not going to hit anything other than a solo homer. The middle guy's the problem, in my judgment, not the 3rd guy.
Cooper running, and Offerman chops it off the plate. Tough play for Williams. He got it. And Offerman not running like he normally would. He limps down the line. Cooper at second with 2 outs, and Offerman having trouble getting around the bases with that bad groin muscle.
Williams has to wait for the high hop. I've seen infielders lose ground balls in the sun. Matt Williams stayed with that very nice. Look at Offerman going down that line. Give it everything you got till you hit that base, but after you hit the base, that's when it really starts to hurt.
Especially when you're called out.
Right. If he had beaten the throw, that groin would have felt a lot better right now.
Runner at second, 2 out for Goodwin. Not a home run threat. He's hit only 1. And he's 0 for 3 here this afternoon. Little flare line drive his last time up, caught by Vizquel. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Royals are anxiously awaiting the return of Bip Roberts to their lineup after the All-Star break. Been on the shelf with a pulled muscle in his side. Very versatile player, and that's how Bob Boone will use him when he comes back. Runner at second, 2 out, and 3-1 on Goodwin.
Kind of an unusual pitch selection there by Charles Nagy with a 2-1 count on a guy that has no pop in his bat, really. He's a singles hitter. He chose to throw him a breaking ball and now falls behind 3-1.
The home run threat, Jay Bell waiting on deck. That's hard hit, but foul. Goodwin trying to get on to bring up Bell, who would represent the tying run.
You mentioned Bip Roberts. It's a good thing he's versatile because Johnny Damon has pretty much taken over that left field position. He's had his problems today defensively, but he's been swinging a hot bat for Bob Boone, and when Bip Roberts does return, chances are he will play every day, but not the same position 2 days in a row.
Three balls, 2 strikes on Goodwin. Runner at second, 2 out. And the inning is over. A big strikeout for Nagy as he leaves Bell in the on-deck circle. Time to stretch. 7-4 Cleveland. Everybody's doing a 7th inning polka. In our 7-11 game summary, the Indians had a 4-run second. The Royals a 3-run 4th inning. McFarland has gone deep. Ramirez has hit number 12. Ryan Giles went deep. Home run number 9. Not a bad total for a guy who hasn't started much. And Pat Borders has 3 hits. Here's Tony Fernandez batting right-handed against Jamie Walker in strike 1. Tony is 1 for 3. Hitting .265. Doubled and scored back in the 3rd, and makes the ball 1-1. Tony Fernandez has had a long and very solid major league career in his 15th season. Up the middle, base hit. And Fernandez is on here in the 7th inning.
A lot of question about that second base position for the Indians going into spring training. Robbie Thompson from the Giants has been signed as a free agent. Julio Franco, the incumbent. Tony Fernandez all battling for the job. Franco has not been able to get it done offensively this year, and Tony Fernandez finds himself getting a lot of playing time.
Keep talking about getting second base settled and getting a second baseman here as Pat Borders is retired for the first time on a fly ball to center. Goodwin puts it away. Fernandez tagging but staying put, 1 out. But to me, how can you, if you're going to make a trade and you are John Hart, pitching has got to be your #1 concern. The lineup is fine. Fernandez can handle himself at second base, or Franco or Candel if they go through an error streak, but you've got to focus on pitching.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think there's any question in John Hart's mind that they're going to need to add some pitching help, particularly starters. Come on, Group.
1 on, 1 out for Vizquel, and there's strike 1.
And it's not that they haven't tried. John Hart has been talking to several different ball clubs about the possibility of acquiring some starting pitching, but nobody wants to cooperate with him.
Signed Jack McDowell. That hasn't worked out. Ineffective when healthy, and now not even healthy.
If the Indians could expand their lead to, say, 7 or 8 games, it would be easier to trade for a starting pitcher. But the closer they are, and the closer the Central Division in the American League is, the tougher it is for them to trade, because clubs will hold them up. They'll ask for too much, realizing that the need is more pressing. If they open up the big lead, then I think a case could be made that it would be cheaper to get a starting pitcher.
John Hart telling us 2 weeks ago right here in this booth, as Fernandez goes, the throw by McFarland is not in time, and Fernandez steals number 3 on the year. John Hart telling us 2 weeks ago that because of the 3-division system and because of the wild card race, because teams that, even though they're a handful or even more games under the 500 mark, are still in their race, they're not willing to give up a top-flight pitcher yet until later on in the year. And by the way, the July 31st trading deadline is fast approaching. This is July 5th.
Well, the thing is, the Indians are not the only team looking for pitching help out there. San Francisco Giants recently lost Osvaldo Fernandez out of their starting rotation. They're looking for some pitching help. Ramon Martinez from the Dodgers is on the shelf for a while. They could possibly looking for some pitching help, although they're pretty deep after him.
Vizquel grounds to the right side, and that's taken care of by Offerman, 2 out. Over to third is Fernandez for Grissom.
You almost know that Kurt Schilling is going to be traded from the Philadelphia Phillies before the year's out.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them to keep him around.
No. As a matter of fact, he had a no-trade clause in his contract. He waived that no-trade clause. The Phillies gave him extra money, and there are 5 teams to whom he will be traded, and Cleveland's not one of them, unfortunately.
Here comes Bob Boone. He is out to make another pitching change, evidently, with Grissom coming up. Jamie Walker either will get a chance to face Grissom. Nope. Bob Boone looks down to the bullpen, makes the motion, and here comes the veteran right-hander. He with the nasty curveball when he first came up with the Orioles. Greg Olson just up with the Royals. So we'll take a break. The left-hander Walker is gone. He did a fine job. We're in the 7th inning. Royals down by 3. Well, with the All-Star game only 3 days away here in Cleveland, 4-time All-Star Bob Boone was asked about his All-Star memories.
Well, the first one I was fortunate was in Philadelphia when I played for the Phillies, and I can still remember the ovation the fans gave. It was Luzinski and Schmidt and Bowen and Boone on the line, and I can still, it gives me goosebumps. I can still remember the ovation we got.
Bicentennial year, 1976, Jerry Ford at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. And Bob Boone also the catcher on the World Championship team, the only World Championship that the Philadelphia Phillies ever won, and it was against the Kansas City Royals back in 1980. George Brett and company.
Here's Greg Olson. He's made 11 appearances. See the numbers, an enormous ERA, runner at third, 2 out. And he's fallen behind Grissom 2-0. This is the glaring weakness of the Kansas City Royals, the bullpen. Greg Olson trying to latch on to the Royals. Guy who's bounced around since his big days with the Orioles. And elbow trouble. High pitch there, 2-1.
I was under the impression last night that Greg had it operated on. He told us that he had not had an operation, but just weakness, and he thinks it came from throwing too many curveballs perhaps early in his career. Devastating curveball, as you mentioned, Joe.
Part of that Kansas City bullpen, which is the worst in the American League ERA-wise. They cannot get the game to Montgomery, and he is not as sure as he once was. 2 balls and a strike, now 3-1 on Grissom.
We haven't seen curveball yet from Olson. He's thrown fastballs to Grissom, and thrown the ball up high.
Runner at third, 2 out. Pretty good fastball there to Grissom on 3-1. Now a full count. 90 miles per hour on our radar gun. Olsen trying to get the Royals out of 7th inning trouble. The inning continues for at least another batter as Seitzer walks in. Didn't see that patented curveball, did we?
Yeah, he perhaps is reluctant to throw it since he's had the problems with the elbow. He relied on all fastballs here to Marquise Grissom. Tried to work the outside corner. Up high. Up high again. Got a good hack at that one. A little bit higher that time. And ball 4 chased him off the plate.
And down to first. First and third, 2 out for Seitzer. Ball 1 high. Seitzer was gathering dust early in the year. He was a guy rarely seen off the bench for McCarver, but now here he is, practically an everyday player as the DH for the Indians. First and third, 2 out. Grissom will walk down to second, uncontested. Stolen base number 14.
Well, I think Kevin Seitzer is an ideally suited number 2 hitter. He likes to inside out the ball. He likes to hit to the opposite field. He likes to hit deep in the count. He's not one of those guys that's overly aggressive at the plate. As you get a look at Marquise Grissom off to the races.
No stolen base credited to Marquise Grissom.
Well, that's about as indifferent as you can get. Neither middle infielder broke. The pitcher had a big leg kick on his delivery to the plate, and the catcher never came out of his crouch.
Now Seitzer fouls one away. I still don't. And I know I'm walking a fine line here with 2 former catchers in the booth, but most of the time I don't agree with that call whatsoever. If he falls down, he gets tagged out. Is that not an out?
No, it would be an out.
But that time the defense wasn't indifferent.
It would be an unusual circumstance for him to be out, and I think the more unusual the circumstance, the more indifference should be involved in the call. That's the way I would look at it.
Second and third, 2 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes on Seitzer. 7-4 Indians in the 7th. And Olsen keeps missing up. Full count now.
But it was very courageous for you to bring that up with us here.
I knew I was. Yeah. I had no chance of getting any corroboration or cooperation.
Yeah, I've been lobbying to try to get more positive stats for catchers when they block balls in the dirt with runners on base or with a runner at third. That's a run save.
Yep. Second and third, 2 outs, and Seitzer pops it up into center for Goodwin. So Olsen comes in, issues the walk, gets out of the inning. We are through 7. Indians still in control. They lead by 3. We get into the 8th inning here in Cleveland. The Indians out in front by 3. It's 7-4, and the day for Charles Nagy is finished. He went 7, allowed 4 runs on 6 hits, struck out 4, walked 2, allowed a home run, and here's Jose Mesa. His numbers have been creeping back toward respectability, and Mike Hargrove has brought him into more and more serious situations, and here he is trying to protect a 3-run lead.
You know, over his last 6 ball games, he's been able to lower his ERA from 7.45 down to the current 4.88. Slowly working his way back into that closer's role where Mike Jackson has filled in more than capably, converting 10 out of 11 save opportunities.
He got the save here last night over the Royals. Leading it off is the shortstop, Jay Bell, and that's a strike from Mesa. Most believe the difference for the Indians in 1995 when they got to the World Series only to lose to Atlanta was Jose Mesa. Strike 2. Mesa saved 46 games that year and had an ERA of 1.13. Ossenmacher getting ready. And this all in an effort, if it stays as is, to set up maybe Mike Jackson. Bell on 0-2. Wouldn't chase it. Mesa can still throw hard, 96 miles per hour on that pitch, but missing in and out of the strike zone has put him in trouble quite a bit this season. Of course, trouble a key word for Jose Mesa, the way the calendar year started for the Cleveland right-hander. Legal troubles. Two balls, two strikes, and off the end of the bat to first for Tomey. Bell never did run. One away.
I think Jay thought that ball was going to squirt foul, and it surprised him when it stayed fair.
You don't see too many guys retired by 89 feet. Jay Bell barely got out of the batter's box. You can see it was trying to go foul, but stayed just inside that bag.
Real bang-bang play.
Yeah, it was close. At this point, he says, I'm not going to get there anyway. That's about as out as you can get.
One out, nobody on. The batter is Jeff King, and he takes a strike from Mesa. Really tough to defend, though, when he didn't make any break out of the box whatsoever, as that ball squirted down to first. If Tomey missed it at all, the ball could have rolled away 20 feet. They still would have had it. And Bob Boone can't be happy with that. Can't be happy with that three-pitch inning. Back in the sixth, Davis, Nunnally, and then Johnny Damon made the mistake of going after the first pitch. Strike two, one positive for the Royals today. Their bullpen. With Bonus and Walker, and now Olsen. They have not been scored upon in over 2 innings. Here's the 1-2 to King.
Tough pitch to lay off right there. Hard slider down low and away, just off the outside corner. Mesa wanted the call, didn't get it.
Off the plate to the left side. Williams makes the play, cuts in front of Vizquel, 2 out.
Oh, those two gloves on the left side, you can't go wrong no matter who fields that ball. Third baseman is always taught to take anything he can get to going to his left, even if it involves cutting in front of a Gold Glover. Williams with a nice throw on the run.
Almost a mid-ground collision there.
It's when gold met gold. Williams to his left in front of Vizquel. 2 Gold Glovers, and Williams made the easier play once he got to the ball. At least the easier throw. 2 out, nobody on for Chili Davis's Jose Mesa, working on a perfect 8th inning. Strike one.
This gives you an idea. We talked earlier about the devastating effect Chili Davis has on breaking balls, and that first pitch from Mesa, 94 miles an hour, and true to form, Chili Davis fouling it off the other way. I would be very surprised if Chili Davis pulled the ball to the right side unless the pitch was down and in.
Look at the top switch hitters all time among home run hitters. Mickey Mantle, of course, leading the way. And then Eddie Murray, who has Hall of Fame credentials. Reggie Smith, now the hitting instructor with the Dodgers. And then Chili Davis. Gives you a good idea of how difficult it is to switch hit at this level. 0-2 to Davis. To the left side, true to form, right at Williams. And the perfect throw, 1-2-3 from Mesa. Good work, bottom of the 8th inning. Indians bat, they lead by 3.
Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week, brought to you by AccuView from Johnson & Johnson, the world's #1 contact lens. By 7-Eleven. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. By Excedrin, the headache medicine. And by Miller Genuine Draft, who reminds you it's time for better beer breath.
Above Jacobs Field hovers one of America's most enduring corporate symbols, the Goodyear blimp. Today, it is the Goodyear blimp Spirit of Akron on duty for Fox and the Saturday baseball game of the week. Bottom of the 8th inning, Greg Olson goes back to work, and here's Tomey.
Akron, what, about 160 miles from here, or that far?
I don't even think it's that far.
I guess the pilots don't even get per diem today, huh? You just get paid?
It's a home game.
Yeah.
1 ball, 1 strike on Tomey, who has singled, walked. He's 1 for 3. The chance for Olson to get that ERA down and solidify his spot in this bullpen. 2-1 on Tomey, with Ramirez and Williams to follow. Manny is next. 2 balls and a strike on Tomey. Now 2-2. Tomey leading off. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Pretty good velocity from Olson, but everything has been up. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Consistently up high since Greg Olson came into the ball game. We saw Tomey chase a lot of high fastballs earlier in the game.
Well hit into right center field. Back at the track, at the wall. Goodbye. Number 24 for a guy who makes a case even stronger that he should head to the 68th annual All-Star game.
Well, he mentioned they've gone after him with high fastballs earlier in the game. This one is right in his happy zone. Down low, out over the plate where he can extend his arms and constantly looking to hook that ball back to right field.
He went from chasing a fastball to having somebody else chase it. A fan.
Nobody on or out, and Manny Ramirez puts it one up and in. Manny is homered today. He has hit 12. So this combination of Tomey and Ramirez, each have homered today. Tomey with 24 home runs, Ramirez with 12. Manny pops it out of play for strike 1. There are going to be some talk show hosts tonight on local radio that will be having a field day. Paul O'Neill has been named to replace Frank Thomas on the All-Star squad for the American League. Jim Tomey, whether he knows or not, will continue smiling. Very happy man, very good player. Ramirez lines one to center, caught by Goodwin. 1 away.
Sandy Alomar sitting next to Jim Tomey. Also happy that the Indians have expanded their lead to 4 runs because in a close game, talked about it earlier, Sandy could be called upon to pinch hit. Now, that's not to say he won't be if Kansas City comes back to tie it in the 9th inning, but I would imagine Sandy very happy that it's an 8-4 game instead of a 5-4 game.
Olson delivers a strike to Matt Williams.
I mean, 29 games in a row, Bobby, knowing how many knocks and bruises and everything you go through back there, that is just a remarkable achievement for a catcher to hit that many games in a row. Absolutely. A lot of times your 3rd and 4th at bat, especially if you're catching guys like Hershiser, Nagy with heavy sinkers, Mesa with a heavy fastball. Your left hand is going to be bothering you. Third, fourth time at bat. Hands are always sore. Your arms are the foul tips on the shoulders and things like that. That tells after a while.
Here's the 0-2 to Williams, grounded too short for Bell. Bad hop. 2 out.
Not to mention the heavy legs that you get as the game goes on. Most catchers are not fleet of foot, and as the game goes on, they get a little slower. Those balls hitting the hole that perhaps early in the game you might be able to leg out. You've got no chance late in the game.
Alomar, a guy who late in spring training pulled a rib cage muscle slightly. Indians asked him if he needed to go on the disabled list. He said, no, I've been on there enough. He makes the case that it may have cut his swing down a bit, and here he is having his best offensive season ever. And by the way, there's that good curveball from Olsen. 5 behind Benito Santiago, who as a rookie set the record in 1987 for hitting streaks for a catcher. Minimum of 50 games caught. 2 of the top 3 spots, Padres. Benito and John Flaherty, who was picked up last year from Detroit. So the bullpen now has given up a run for Kansas City. It belongs to Olsen. A home run by Tomey leading off here in the 8th. That's off the plate. Off the bat of Giles. What a play by Cooper. He has always been a terrific defensive third baseman. And he took an infield hit away from Brian Giles. We have played 8. Royals last chance. 9th inning, they now trail by 4. Welcome back to the 9th inning at Jacobs Field. The Indians leading 8-4. The Indians 37-1 when leading after 8 innings. And here this afternoon, they try to extend their record to 43-36. Meanwhile, the White Sox are beating up on Boston 11-5 late in that game. So it looks as though the Indians will stay 3.5 games up on Chicago. The Royals, meanwhile, will fall 8 games back. And a look at the new pitcher, left-hander Paul Assenmacher.
Veteran left-hander Paul Assenmacher features a little tailing fastball. His best pitch by far is that big slurve. He throws one that's a little harder, breaks a little shorter, a little sharper, and then he's got the big sweeping slurve, particularly effective against left-handed hitters.
So Assenmacher gets ready to deal with the bottom portion of the order. They will have Shane Halter come off the bench and hit for Nunnally, who was 1 for 3 with an RBI single and a run scored. And here's Halter batting in the 9th. And taking a ball from Assenmacher. There's a strike, 1-1. There is David Howard. He's on deck, the switch hitting middle infielder, so it looks like he'll bat for Damon. 2 balls and a strike from Assenmacher. Some may wonder, well, why did the Indians take Jose Mesa out of the game? He had a 1-2-3 8th inning. You would have to believe that this is another step in trying to rebuild his confidence.
Absolutely. We mentioned his numbers over the last 6 ball games. He's starting to turn his season around, lowering that ERA by almost 3 whole runs. Just trying to continue to build on that.
Halter strikes out to start the 9th inning, 1 away. And Assenmacher takes care of the pinch hitter. Tonight on Fox, 1 run, 1 hit, no room for errors. A full hour of primetime Cox, followed by When Disaster Strikes 2. Tonight, starting at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, right here on Fox.
Kind of a catchy promo there, Joseph.
Very baseball-oriented.
Yeah.
Here's David Howard pinch hitting for Damon, who was 0 for 2 with a walk. And he takes a strike from Assenmacher. Greg Paquette is on deck, so
Bob Boone is emptying the bench here in the 9th inning in the hope that the Royals can jump back in it. Down by 4, and Howard backed up at 0-2.
That's another reason that Mike Hargrove brought in the left-hander. When you bring in one pitcher and make the other manager change 3 positions in the order, if they do tie it, they're going to have a weaker bench than you do.
One hopper right at Williams, 2 up, 2 down. We remind you that the senior coordinating producer of Major League Baseball on Fox and the producer of today's game is John Filippelli. Today's game directed by Billy Webb. The pregame show produced by Scott Ackerson. The studio was directed by Bob Levy. Senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown. The executive producers of Fox Sports are David Hill and Ed Gorin. Special thanks to Lance Garrett, Steve Horn, Barry Landis. Everybody will be descending upon Cleveland. Straggling in. Also our thanks to Kathy Hunt for all of her great work, Carol Langley. And we will all be here to present our very best on Fox on Tuesday night, 8 Eastern, with our first All-Star game.
Everybody else descending, and we'll be staying. Enjoying the city.
2 out, nobody on for Paquette. Pinch hitting and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Ossenmacher trying to have an uneventful 9th inning. 8-4 Indians. And the Royals down to their final strike as they threaten to go 0-6 against the Indians this year. With a 1-2-3 9th inning, a pair of strikeouts, and the Indians wrap up the victory here over Kansas City. Our genuine Chevrolet player of the game is Jim Thome. He may not go to this year's All-Star game, but we thought we'd throw him a little consolation prize here this afternoon. He hit a home run, number 24 on the year, and Mike Hargrove and the Indians celebrate a victory here today over the Kansas City Royals. Hope you have enjoyed it. And again, we remind you that on Tuesday night, the 68th playing of the All-Star game from Jacobs Field right here in Cleveland, Ohio. For Tim McCarver and Bob Brenly, I'm Joe Buck saying so long from Cleveland, where the final score is the Indians 8, the Royals 4. You've been watching Fox Sports coverage of Major League Baseball. See you Tuesday night.